Johnson, the UK Prime Minister, is currently under pressure to resign after it was discovered that he had parties during strict COVID lockdown protocols he himself had implemented. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, also got in trouble for doing something similar. Both men face charges that they are unfit to lead and absolutely must leave office. Is this fair? Is the political realm or any in the political realm are any accusations that involve COVID ever sincere anymore? Is the pandemic just a cheap political weapon, or is it genuinely a problem that these leaders violated their own restrictions? Is the obvious hypocrisy untenable? Should the public have any trust in their words afterwards, especially when related to COVID restrictions? Okay, yeah. Boris Johnson is in hot water. He had to like apologize like directly to the Queen apparently, which sounds like a big thing, I suppose. Um, and then there's also footage from the British Parliament. I love the British Parliament. You should love it too, right? Of the of the Labour Party shitting all over him. It's actually really entertaining. It's amazing. That I love that they fight that way. Anyway, Trey. Um, so like, but looking at this, it's tough to know at what point is any of this real, right? Is it just something? Okay, this is the weapon we can hit this guy over the head with, right? He's trying to restart uh, his premiership, right? He's trying to jumpstart his career at this very moment, and so now we can hobble him uh, with this accusation, right? And with Gavin Newsom, they came at him with the recall, right? Which went nowhere. So, is any of this actually real, or does it actually matter? Is this something really important we should be paying attention to? Okay, I'll take myself off screen, and we'll start with the Turk. Turk.
Yeah, so I think that they shouldn't have to resign. I think that we all make mistakes, and if this was codified as a law that was passed and not just like a "hey, do this for the common good" kind of thing, if he broke the law, he needs to be prosecuted under the law and all that stuff. But I would say that we need to be consistent across the board because there's been several other prominent leaders or across the world that during these COVID lockdowns violated the same things and got very little backlash publicly from the opposite sides or their residing side of the political spectrum. So uh, I think if the British people would want to uh, get him out, they have mechanisms to doing that. I think asking for him to resign over it's kind of petty and silly. I think they should use a bigger stick. But I don't think that he's going to resign because this is pretty petty stuff. But I'm really interested to some more of these ancillary questions. Like it's is going into 2022 with the pandemic going on. It's like what of these arguments we've been using for the past year and a half are still valid, and should we rethink some of these arguments in terms of where we stand politically as well as a community? So I'm really interested to see where this conversation goes.
Add Latin.
So, I mean, asking someone to resign is like one of the mechanisms that like exist. Like to say that we're asking them to resign and that's petty is like not petty. Like that's just like one of the mechanisms that exist. Like if someone made a mistake and it's a bad one, like we don't actually have to spend like money and could do like some sort of thorough investigation and go through some sort of like legal process if they just resign instead, right? So like asking someone to resign is never petty. As far as whether they should or not, I don't think anyone is actually taking like any officials anywhere are really taking the pandemic nearly as seriously as used to. There's a lot of people who are already vaccinated. So like the death rate is going to be a lot less. Omicron is less deadly apparently, for what I've been seeing. Basically a lot of local government around the world have just kind of said, okay, we can't actually shut things down. We're just going to let it happen. I work in some school districts, right? Teaching, and like the COVID policy, like there were COVID policies that were implemented in like say December or January, right? Saying, okay, if this percentage of kids have COVID, we will shut down. And then the second that those metrics were reached, the school backtracked and said, oh, actually it has to be double the number, or we're not going to do it at all, right? Like nobody's actually going to shut down anything over the pandemic, so it's like kind of weird to ask officials to do it, to resign when they aren't following their own pandemic rules. That being said, I think public officials should be trying to follow their policies, and I don't think anybody is. That's it.
Okay. Wiggle.
Yeah, I think this is an example of like leadership and representative democracy, just not really caring about the individuals that elect them. Like, I think this is just indicative of like a greater issue. Is just this almost like this pretend game of like individuals that tell you one thing because that's what you want. You elected them to say that. You want them. You're the constituents, and there's a large portion of the population that believes that you should maintain a distance, wear masks, stay indoors, and they're following these measures. And then the people that want to represent them because they want votes, um, they pretend as well, and they say, "Yeah, do this, do that. We're with you 100%." And in their private life, they don't actually believe that. They don't actually care. And then when they get outed, it's the game of, it was a mistake, And you see in both these instances, like both of them acknowledge that they made a mistake. But is that accountability? Is that all there is saying that you're gonna you made a mistake? That's it. That's the end of it. Um, it's pretty interesting there. Um, Beyond that, going to like I guess what Turk was saying a little bit, like going into 2020, what do we do now? Clearly in America, we have a problem, right? Like it's 2022, and you can see that there's a lot of liberals that, and then there's a lot of conservatives that both agree that like they don't want to wear masks. They just don't want to do this. They don't care as much. They got either they got their vaccines and they don't care, or there's people that didn't do jack shit and they don't care. And if that's the political reality, then I guess we have to start working with that versus trying to do this system of voluntarism of like, please do this, please. Like, where's the please in 2022? It's like either work with the political reality or you try to force something. And we know how that works with the Supreme Court decision now.
Okay,
That
thank
was
you.
it.
RobeMan.
So I think that any of these politicians that have enacted these policies that are locking down our society, basically, like if especially Gavin Newsom in particular, California was locked down pretty bad. The businesses were shut down. A lot of restaurants had to shut down, and his winery actually was allowed to stay open. So as a politician, you see that many of these politicians they'd like to have these rules, they like to set these policies, but they don't have to deal with the repercussions of the policies that they set. And I think it would be a good thing to have these politicians face some repercussions for some of the things that they have enacted during the pandemic. I think the pandemic has shown us that these politicians just want power. They just are happy to rules for thee, not for me. Me personally, I own a business. I was given given an order to shut down for 4 months over the pandemic, and I've watched health departments themselves, say it's for the safety of the public and all this, and I would walk into a health department and see nobody wearing a mask, nobody following their own rules that they would cast onto the public. So I just think that politicians need to see some type of repercussions for their actions. I don't think that's happening whatsoever in today's society. I think they're just basically being treated as, they basically get the baby treatment from the media. Anything they do, as long as it's in the right narrative, they are treated like they can do no wrong, and they're just brushed away. Look at AOC in Florida with no mask on. You'd expect someone who is basically saying that the pandemic is so serious. Why are you sitting in Florida with no mask on, where that is in many liberals' minds the epicenter of COVID? So that's my time.
Let's go to Scorn.
Hey, so this topic represents a major partisan divide in our culture. At face value, I would think the hypocrisy should hurt the electability of the politician, and that can reflect on their party. In a vacuum, we do have hypocrisy on all sides, but contextually, we have to be careful about how that hypocrisy is interpreted. It might not be so hypocritical after all, depending on who you ask. Hypocrisy is false pretense or roughly saying one thing, doing another, but it's key what exactly a person is being hypocritical about. So, a devout Nazi officer looking the other way when they come across a suspected Jew in hiding would be a hypocrite to the Nazi party, but to others not so much. It'd be like a heroic rebel. So my concern is that there's a conservative culture out there which is viewing these politicians as heroic rebels and viewing the left as authoritarian. That means Boris Johnson can get away with this ultimately with a wink and a smile. So I think it's important for the left to stay on message, and I also think it's important for the right to adopt some kind of anti-COVID spirit that we can come together on. And I have a particular suggestion for that. I can go into it later.
Okay. Let's go to Captain Jones.
Oh, so yeah, I generally tend to kind of agree with Turk's take that the reasons that we're getting mad at like Boris Johnson and Gavin Newsom are pretty fucking petty. If we were going to get upset at Boris Johnson, maybe do it over like Brexit or something like that. It just seems like going to a party is not recall worthy or and so it doesn't feel like the crime fits the or the punishment fits the crime. And like I think my main problem with it is that if I live in California, but take my word with a grain of salt. It felt like to me that it was mainly people on the right who were drumming up a lot of the um, kind of hypocrisy argument over Gavin Newsom, and it was less people on the left. People on the left were pissed that he would get caught doing something like that, but at least everyone I knew was like, "This is such a fucking non-issue. Nobody cares." And I mean, to prove that when the recall happened, over 70% voted not to recall him. So like, I I get that this is it's a form of it's a function of our government to do a recall or whatever, but I would much rather we pick a better thing than this. And what it really feels like is that we are punishing um, these people. Although I really don't like Boris Johnson, so I'm kind of okay with him being punished. But I like Gavin Newsom, so I voted for him. I'd vote for him again. So like it feels like Gavin Newsom in particular is being punished for every other politician's misdeeds while in office, and yeah, I don't think that's okay.
All right, to the panel.
I was gonna say, why does it matter who calls it out for being hypocritical if it's hypocritical? Like, if it's the right wing that is more upset with Gavin Newsom, I guess you can see the bias there, but if they're
Exactly.
right, they're right.
Well, but here was the problem is that they would call out the hypocrisy with Gavin Newsom, but then they just don't even care about the hypocrisy with their own Republican governors, senators,
Exactly.
congressmen, etc. They couldn't care less about that. So it's like, oh, they don't actually care about what Gavin Newsom's doing. What they want to do is they want to get the political own. And like, at least the lefty, liberal, whatever people that I know, nobody gave a fuck about that. Like we wished he hadn't done it. It was very stupid, you know. But ultimately, definitely not recall worthy. And like I don't know. There used to be a time in politics where like we would, I would consider like our response to COVID something akin to like wartime. And like we don't want to switch our general during the middle of a war.
You don't
It's
switch
kinda
your
like,
horse in midstream. That's
yeah. There you go. That's a good one.
Well, that's like provided that the horse is actually like functional and able to like accomplish anything. And like the biggest thing that COVID has shown is that we have a country that's so divided that we can't even handle like a basic crisis. Like we just can't. And yeah, there's hypocrisy, but like the hypocrisy matters less than the fact that we couldn't find a set policy that folks could work together on. Like the masking didn't need to be a controversy. Getting vaccinated didn't have to be a controversy. Like all this stuff could have been really, really straightforward. And like I get that there's like problems with some of the ways the policies were trying to be implemented, right? Like I think that like if healthcare workers have been on the front lines dealing with COVID like this entire time, and are probably already immune to COVID because they've had it while treating people, having a policy that lets them get fired for not getting vaccinated is kind of not great. Didn't really like that. I didn't like the kind of lack of cooperation from the right as well. It felt like there was sort of like this thing where we're going to do our best to spite like responsible COVID policy, not because we wanted to fight for COVID necessarily, right? It was more like the right wanted to just say, on principle, freedom is more important than actually saving lives during this crisis. And so, like, altogether, our values were just so misshapen that we didn't get anywhere. And like the hypocrisy is happening, but the hypocrisy is happening because nobody gives a shit anymore. There's no solution. There's no way of fixing this. We're just gonna kind of, you know, stumble our way out of this pandemic, and there's nothing to be done.
Captain Jones, I have a question for you. You said that you didn't understand why everybody was so angry at Gavin Newsom. My question for you is: let's say you own a business. Let's say you own a winery, for example, a competing business with Gavin Newsom, and he shuts down the entire industry of restaurants. The entertainment venues. I think now they're all open, but at the time when he was caught having his winery open, he had shut down most entertainment industries like wineries, bars and stuff like that. So if you own a winery and you're seeing him basically give himself a competitive advantage, he's going to make more money, obviously, if his winery's open. People want to go do that. Don't you think he should be held accountable for letting his winery be open and forcing other people to be shut down?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, other than the fact that I didn't say that I didn't understand why people were mad, I in fact said that I did understand that I in fact was kind of pissed off. I mean, I ultimately don't think it's recall worthy, but I
You
don't
said
think
you
he
and your
should have done
friends
it.
didn't really care that much.
Yeah, we didn't, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah,
like
but
it's not
but it's not about the recall, right? It's about
the hypocrisy.
the
Sure.
strong hand. It's about the
Sure.
idea that you have to deal with this. Like Gavin Newsom may not have been recalled, but he had to deal with that, and that's the political reality that you want to place on him as his constituent. You want him to know that it's not all just like roses and lilies. Like you're gonna have to deal with your constituents, and even if you know you're gonna like get through a recall, you still have to go through that process, and that sucks. You know?
But that's the
Yeah.
problem with California and the recall. It's like, yeah, a lot of people were hyping up Elder was the guy, right? And everyone was like, "Oh man, we might actually have a Republican in California." It's like, come on, be real, everybody. There's no way people are gonna vote against Gavin Newsom because he is like one of the poster child of progressive politics and the leader of one of the largest states in the union. So it's like you're not going to vote out your horse because you like your horse. He's doing what you think is well for what you're wanting him to do. So the recall was really just a pony show where the right tried to do something, but in reality was never actually going to take hold.
Yeah, and like I think like so
It's
to
faux
explain
outrage.
why and I think me and my friends probably care less is that I'll just explain for myself. But like I think that the hypocrisy is rank in the entire system. Democrats and Republicans do it. So I weigh the crime basically on the spectrum. I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but like so you have like everybody doing stuff bad. So now I need to basically weigh Gavin Newsom's his crime against what everyone else is doing as well.
It
And
would
so
be
like in comparison, ultimately I did agree with the lockdowns. I thought that was the
so on the
smartest move to
moral
do at the time
spectrum.
with the information
Yeah.
that we had. I see the thing is I think the moral, sure, it's bad. I've already given you that. It's definitely looks bad for him to have done it. I think that's what we were pissed off the most. Like you shouldn't have done it because now we have all this controversy. Now we have people who
It's
are
more than moral.
pointing.
Like look at what RobeMan was saying. It's like um perhaps like not being as affected by it it would seem that way. But what if you were directly affected, like
I
in
was
Rome's
directly bad.
example?
I mean, I was directly affected.
No,
So
like
like
in
I
the sense that he was describing, what if you're a competitor and you're
oh sure, I'm
financially,
not a wine. Yes, I'm
yeah.
definitely not a
So
wine.
like in that
Uh,
instance, like you would see it differently. And I would imagine from your perspective, you would say if you were in that position, this is ridiculous. And there are people that would be incensed. It's just not enough, right? It's just there are people that have a good reason to be very angry. It's just not enough.
So
yeah, I
another
mean, I guess I don't have a lot of compassion for wine owners. You're right.
so a prime example of this outrage that would probably fit your moral issues, Captain A. Jones, is what happened in New York and in shipping the elderly people to and from their nursing homes getting infected with COVID and stuff. And lots of them passed away due to this bad policy decision. Yet Cuomo had very little actual practical pushback or uh, no one actually like asked him to resign from the progressive side other than some of the like extreme progressives that were going for his office, right? I think it was like the attorney general or assistant attorney general.
Yeah, I think it was like 150 elderly lost their lives in the transfer and all that.
And that's
Um,
something that would be worth getting someone to resign over, right?
But it's like if you look at the instance of like the of Como, right? It's like um it's very indicative, like outside of that the nursing home scandal. It seems like soon after the nursing home scandal you had the one about sexual harassment, and then further claims of sexual I guess it'd be weird to call it assault, but it's like it's definitely more than just sexual harassment. And it was multiple counts. And you notice how that is something you could say that probably is happening like at a large level throughout government. And Cuomo is like this individual that's getting extremely popular in New York at that time on the global stage after the COVID scenario. And then there's this case of this big scandal that can screw him over the nursing homes. And then you see this buildup of this instance about sexual harassment, and then it plays to the constituents, people like me, New Yorkers, who are like, yeah, that's really fucked up. This, justice has to be done. This is really fucked up. And you have all of New York. It feels like all of the legislative branch, like you have everybody, assembly people, etc., coming out against Cuomo, telling him to step down. And then as soon as he resigns, then once again it's all roses and lilies, and like they drop any serious case against him. They don't go any further, and it's like utilizing what the constituents are upset about, and then when they get what they want, it's business as usual, and it's kind of indicative of this.
I just find it interesting that the media was up in arms about his sexual harassment claims, but you didn't hear really a peep or any outrage over the deaths in the nursing homes.
yeah, so I'm gonna be. This is gonna sound really callous of me, but I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna fucking say it, and you can hate me afterward.
I
The
would
Cuomo,
refrain. I would refrain.
no, the Cuomo nursing home scandal was a gigantic error and uh, and misstep.
Do you think he should have resigned after that?
No, because I don't think that it was negligent.
How is it? It's the definition of negligent.
Given the information that we had at the time,
This
they
guy,
tried to basically what they tried to do was they tried to rush the elderly into the nursing homes, not
there's more.
realizing
There's more than
that
this.
COVID had already spread.
It's more than
They
just this. It
were
was like he was going on TV every single day talking to New Yorkers like me, and normalizing like the situation because people are freaking out. And we are listening to this guy, and in other states they were listening to him like he was their governor. They were listening to this guy more than they were listening to like Donald Trump at the time. People are listening to him on the TV, telling you what's going on, giving you metrics, etc., talking about the importance of being with your family, the importance of these stats, what to feel, what to do. And then in the background, he's not reporting certain numbers that are happening in like nursing homes to the federal government. He's obstructing this process. Like what to look good? Like at what extent? That's negligence. That's it was like his government was being asked for something, and then they were not giving it. So it's not the idea of like he was just not forward. He was his administration was obstructing.
Yeah, I mean, like Cuomo isn't a hill to die on. Like, I'm perfectly fine selling him down the river. Like, fuck that guy. He definitely shouldn't have done what he did in his COVID response. I think a lot of I think like no matter what happened in that situation, I think a lot of seniors were going to die. I'm not sure what policy could have been implemented to save the most lives. But like going out of your way to falsify data to keep your administration looking good is just a shit thing to do. Like I didn't like it when Trump was doing that, and I certainly didn't like it when Cuomo was doing that. So like, yeah, no, like just let's just sell him down the river and just not give a shit about him. Like fuck him, right? When it comes to Newsom, if like he kept his businesses open because he was able to navigate the policies that he constructed, then he should probably be sold down the river too. Honestly, like that's like using your position in a way that's not befitting of the office.
So
The only thing is though, and this is why I'm going to like put an asterisk behind everything I just said. I feel like what ends up happening in these sorts of situations is that the left had been very, very um, fair in terms, like previously speaking, fair in terms of saying, okay, this person that we have on our side did something bad, let's get rid of them. And the right does not. And so, like, what's going to end up happening if and like maybe at the end of the day, maybe it's for the best. Maybe it would show that the Democratic Party is got more integrity, and thus they would get like more votes and be able to accomplish more things. I think like the general fear has been that like a lot of leftist and Democratic politicians would like lose careers. There wouldn't be any leadership or cohesiveness, and like the Democratic Party would like have to rebuild over the course of like say I don't know how long would it take to fix everything. Like if Democrats who actually did things that were wrong were actually removed from their positions, right? Like there's a lot of them. There's a lot of Republicans and Democrats who do really shitty things while they're in office and they take advantage of the office. But like one party actually like removed their members that did that sort of thing. I think two things would happen. A, the party would lose all capacity to contribute to government and become irrelevant anyway. And B, I don't think they would get the funding that they would need to actually compete in the first place. Like I don't think there's a way to have like a party that's not hypocritical running things and competing in our current system. Like I actually think that's impossible. And you guys can like argue against this. I'm just really curious what you guys think. Like I just don't think it's a thing.
Well, see,
I
my
guess,
my
like
my,
holding
my
people accountable to like
mean,
that degree,
I
to like
mean,
a
like,
high degree.
I would like to see politicians being held accountable, right? I think that's like super duper important.
Yeah.
I don't see a practical way of that like happening in the next 20 years even.
That's
Like-
that's what I that's the problem. That's like honestly the problem. That's what I think. I think like in that sense, I think that's where people can group up right now. It's like the idea of people feel this kind of doomerism of like, this is the system that is the way it is. This is just how it is. There's going to be this kind of political gridlock. Politicians are going to be able to do these things. We live in this kind of in this kind of system as it is. But there's a reason why a large group of people like voted for the populist Obama twice, and then they voted for the populist Trump. It's that people do want some sort of change to the system, and I think like that is the thing that you want to tap into is that the idea that this isn't what we're experiencing isn't how it's supposed to be, and we are living in a system that isn't like it isn't like it isn't a product of success. It's a product of a failure that we're constantly being told is like just the reality.
So
I mean,
yeah,
I agree with you. So just real quick, like, so I agree that would be the nice thing to have happen, right? Is like to get populism to like actually make a change somehow. But what usually, and like the thing is, like, I'm not saying that we shouldn't try. Like, I would never say that. But what I would say is that, like, historically speaking, what usually ends up happening is that the people who are the people get taken advantage of, right? Like
100%.
whenever the people try to do something like this, it usually takes like three different groups working together to like change a government on some level, right? Like you've got like the people, you've got like police, military forces, and you've got folks with money. Like those are the three, and when all three were working together, then boom, something topples and change happens, right? Like a constitution will have be impacted, or like a government will be shut down, reformed, or whatever. The thing is,
Why
after
police
that
and military?
happens, because the police military tend to shut down. Well, it depends. It depends on the country. It depends on what history we're referring to.
Okay.
But usually, the military.
Oh, so
and
this
police
is
are important.
expanding beyond like the U.S. Okay, that
This is
makes sense.
beyond the U.S. This is like everything. Like I'm just like looking at it from like a very broad lens. Like how often has the United States been able to, or not the United States, has a government generally speaking been able to get away with some sort of just raw populist change, and it just doesn't happen. Like it just like what usually happens. All three work together. They turn over the government, and then the rich and the military forces work together to create like some sort of like government that like appeals to the populace that don't actually end up doing anything for the populace. Like I'm looking, my favorite example is actually the Orleanist government in France, like 1830, right? So like there's like this old French king, he's a Bourbon, like brother of like the beheaded king, right? And he takes charge and he decides to like suppress free speech in France. He shuts down like a bunch of newspapers and like shuts down the government. And 3 glorious days happen, and you have a new king, right? And this new king's government is just as tyrannical as the previous one, except he has like the image of free speech. He talks about liberty. He's like, giving people that like the stuff that they want without actually like enforcing it. They even had like a socialist experiment during his reign, right? Except the person who was in charge of the socialist experiment was sabotaging it from the whole project from the beginning. So what
Was
ended
it
up happening?
was it worse than what they had before?
No, it was slightly marginally better, except it got overthrown too later on. There was like a revolt 2 years later, and then there was another one 16 years later, right? And after that, there's a new asshole who was put in charge. Napoleon III took over, right? Like the populists get taken advantage of at every turn. And so like I'm always really skeptical of seeing like some sort of like populist something happening without like a lot of guidance, I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this could happen. I just think like um it's indicative to listen to like disenfranchised individuals. So when disenfranchised individuals decide to start taking part in a system, and they start to represent themselves, especially in a representative democracy, it's important to listen and heed what they want, because it's a gift. It's a gift that these people are representing themselves. It's like when people are coming out and they're saying they're trying to vote and they haven't voted before, but they're voting because of someone like Trump, or they're voting because of someone like Obama or what have you. Whether you like the policies or not, it's important to see why are these people voting, because we have a problem with people not voting in the country, and then understanding these people are disenfranchised and now they want to be part of this system and trying to keep them there.
Right. So like I think if I was in charge, I would do exactly what you're talking about. I think trying to appeal to the folks who voted for you and understanding what it is that they want or why they responded to your messaging as well as they did. Like, so like for Obama, I think there was like this big, like just sets of hopes and dreams like plopped on that man's shoulder. I mean, but he campaigned for it. So like it's his fault that he had all this responsibility and burden put on himself for sure. But like the thing is like why did people want Obama in charge? They wanted Obama in charge because at the time we had the Iraq War, which felt like it was like spectacularly unfair. We didn't want the federal government felt like it was being like run into the ground by the Republican Party. Like we needed to use the Obama administration as an opportunity to reform our system. Like our system, like, and this is like me kind of getting into hypotheticals here, or my hypothesis here, which is that I think the federal government has become more and more ineffective as we've started like contracting out the work, right? Like there used to be a time where our federal government just kind of did its own thing and paid for its own projects and like hired staff to do certain things. And I think that federal government was way more effective and efficient than the federal government we have today that relies on like contractors who will literally spend extra money to make sure they get that same amount of money from year to year to year, right? Like I think our system is broken because of the contracting system altogether, and not lack of
I
bureaucracy.
100% agree with you. I think like there was a in his farewell speech, like address, like I think Eisenhower was the one that tried to like I believe so, is the one that warned people over like because we had this expansive military, etc., warned people that like it feels like the United States is putting too much stock and like the federal government and putting way too much control in the hands of the federal government and our facilities, etc. And it may not be as sustainable he hopes it could be. And it looks like in the system we've kind of like privatized a lot of that. We do have contractors, and I agree with you because of the credit. Too much credit goes to contractors. It's just kind of like anything like these people have great jobs. They're doing good work. They're getting paid a great amount of money, and none of that gets the federal government doesn't get any credit for that. And then people still believe that the federal government is like incapable, or is like if you give your money to the federal government, you're gonna get a bridge that never gets built. You know, these kind of ideas.
Well, and that's the funny part
Well,
is
one
that
second.
like
Pause for a hot second. We have Squarn who's here. I want to give him a chance. Squarn, though, you gotta like just jump in like the rest of these
All right,
fucking
cool.
degenerates, right? Like
Right.
they can all get a chance because they just say their thing. So just say your thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we were getting carried away here on the whole system discussion. I'm less worried about the system itself. The system is how it is right now, so I think the cultural context is more important to focus on, and how people are motivated to support a cause. We can make comparisons between the Gavin Newsom and Boris Johnson cases. So first, the Gavin Newsom article is from November 14, 2020. Boris Johnson is from like recently, like 15 January 2022. So I think there's a greater moral failing by Gavin Newsom in a vacuum, like or at least from my personal view, because of the timing, being early in the pandemic and because of the Democrat Party messaging being super pro strong measures. Unfortunately for Democrats, when they go low, we go high really has to apply here. And I might be saying this again later, but Boris Johnson is less hurt by this in 2022 when there is a broader lockdown fatigue among voters in general. And as the article says, he's already planning to relax pandemic restrictions. His voters are less likely to see it as hypocrisy and, in fact, the opposite, that he's true to the conservative cultural spirit of ignoring COVID restrictions. For a certain section of voters, they'll see the restrictions as the hypocritical action, not the ignoring of the restrictions. This turns a negative into a positive for those who agree with the spirit of what Boris was doing.
I
Yeah,
mean, like,
that.
so that's like absolutely true, right? Like, I don't disagree with that. Like, I do think that it's more hypocritical for Newsom than it was for Boris Johnson, 1,000%. The only thing I'm arguing here is really like how much does the hypocrisy actually matter now, right? Like, I'm not saying Boris Johnson should resign because of his COVID policies or whatever. I'm not denying it as a tool for resolving something, right? Like, I think there is something to be said for resignation as like a means of resolving an actual problem. But like him ignoring his COVID stuff is like completely irrelevant.
Bias does
What
matter,
everything
though, doesn't
listed.
it?
I mean,
Hmm, hmm.
it would matter if we had remotely taken COVID seriously as like not just the the United States, but like the whole world. The world, the UK and the United States and Europe or whatever was taking COVID seriously. There wasn't this clash between lockdown and freedom that is being fought everywhere at this point, right? I think
What
that
do you think? What do you think taking seriously means, though? What does that look like to you?
taking COVID seriously.
For me, it would be like a universal lockdown. Like if the United States just did a universal lockdown instead of state by state and such.
You think
So
that
it
would
also
you think that
depends-
would eliminate COVID though?
No, you can't eliminate COVID just like that. But that would be a better measure than what we did. Also, like supplying people with funds. It seems like if you think about it right now, we're talking about what like Build Back Better, which is not going to get passed, and then the infrastructure bill, etc. Here in the United States, talking about trillions of dollars of money that we're going to be spending over the course of several years. Um, Yet at the start of this pandemic, the reason why people were going to put themselves at risk is because they needed money. So why wouldn't we have just given them the money so that they would have stayed indoors during that time period? They could still purchase items or goods maybe online or what have you, and then we might have been in a better position today. And today we're asking constituents to sign off or be okay with spending far more money.
Yeah, but all this money that we're spending, you're seeing it today in the economy. The inflation's out of control.
Yeah.
So if you just lock down and give people a bunch of money, there's going to be a different set of problems that you're going to have to deal with, which we are already dealing with now without even having to do all these lockdowns. And I think people have just gotten accustomed to let's lock down the country, let's give everybody stimulus checks. They think the government basically has a blank check, and I think that's what these politicians did is they just said, okay, here's this solution that I can use to make all my constituents happy. But now you're seeing the consequences of doing these things, and now we're in the situation we are in today as America. I mean, I don't think anybody left or right is happy the situation that we sit today as Americans. And
Wait, so you're telling me that like the
Wait.
fact that people spent a year by themselves and then like got free money to do it was like problematic? Like,
it was problematic. Yes, I think that's true.
I mean, like, no, I would actually argue the exact opposite because, like, there's two things that we've actually learned from the fact that this is possible, right? Like, first of all, it's the first time that the federal government actually did something remotely responsible in terms of a crisis. Like, I remember 2008, right? Like, 2008, we had the big foreclosure bubble, and the government had a choice. The government could have bailed out the banks, right? It was like $1.4 trillion bailing out the banks, or give $1.4 trillion to the people who were about to go bankrupt because they couldn't afford to pay the banks. And if we gave that money straight to the people who needed to pay the banks, those people would have had their debt resolved on some level and been able to keep the system going by paying their debts off to the banks. And what we did is pay things directly to the banks. And so the banks were fine, and all the people who had were indebted to the banks were completely screwed and lost their houses, right? So this is like 1,000% better than that type of situation. And
No,
yes,
he-
there are consequences. There are consequences to giving everybody free money. But the other thing that we learned from this situation is that the economy was grinding the workforce down and giving people like kind of min-maxing the work output from an individual and how much they were getting paid. And workers are now actually recognizing that they can get a lot more out of their employers, and that's why there's so few people actually going back to work right now at like their hourly underemployment jobs, right?
well, here's
So like I
here's the
would say,
problem. Here's the problem is that we took these measures, and there was that big bill that happened under Trump. I forget what it was called, the CARES Act or something like that. And I think it was like $3 trillion, $2 trillion or something. And everybody got their $1,400 check, and everybody was happy. But if you really look into that bill, you will see that was just chump change coming from our budget going to the people. Most of it went to big companies. Most of it went to these programs that you're not going to see as a citizen. It's all basically who's connected. They're
don't
getting.
overstate that though. Like, yeah, there's a lot of big
As a
businesses
citizen-
But
that
hold
took
on, hold on,
advantage
hold
of
on.
it,
Let me
businessman.
but like,
let me finish. Basically, what I'm
Okay.
saying is like they now with that they also shut down all these mom and pop businesses. And people's argument were, oh, we're giving them money, we're giving them loans, they can survive. But you did not see Amazon get shut down. You did not see Walmart get shut down. You did not see Target get shut down. And now what you're seeing is these mom and pop businesses are not able to survive. Yes, they do have a worker shortage, and I do agree with you that this has shown that the labor market can come together and demand a higher wage. I think it's been long overdue that they need to do that. But what the government did basically was mandated that we shut down these small mom and pops and have made it so that the only surviving businesses are these big conglomerates that have gotten richer and richer over the past
let's
3
not
years.
conflate everything, though, right? Like you're combining the part, like you're saying all of it was bad, when we can directly point to the part where like the mom and pop shops were closed while the other businesses were not as the actual problem, right? So
Yeah.
like, why don't we just like separate it out and like look at each individual part? Because I agree with you that like big businesses being able to continue to operate while small businesses not being able to operate was not great. And I also would agree with you that big businesses taking advantage of the program. And I think like there's a bunch of businesses that actually ended up sending checks back to the government after all the hullabaloo was raised up from the act.
And a lot of the money wasn't even spent. They
Uh,
used money. They used money and funds from some of these bills with COVID in order to fund infrastructure, in order to fund other bills. So it's like we
There's a
allocated a
lot left.
boatload of money. A lot of it was left unspent.
so I think anything that was allocated towards, I actually read through the bill a long time ago, and I was pretty sure anything that was allocated to like current infrastructure projects and things like that, where it was. Wait, are you saying it's not relevant, or are you saying
No,
that
I
the
believe at the end of Donald Trump's first term, it was brought into reference of like how much money was left that could be allocated, and I don't think all of it was spent. No.
Yeah,
right?
and a lot of that got sucked into the infrastructure bill, which most of the bill was already funds we had already agreed on spending. Then we added on this unspent money from some of these COVID bills. Then there was the additional funding
Right.
that was actually approved.
Right, and like my point is that like that isn't actually a problem, right? Like they submitted this much money, certain amount of money got spent on like these infrastructure programs or government expenses because
No,
they wanted to fund
the
these
problem
projects that need to be funded, right?
the problem, at least from what I'm hearing from the panelists, is there was this large sum of money that was allocated, but we don't think it was allocated appropriately. I think Wigglicious would have liked more money to go to people, however that goes. Other small businesses should have gotten more of this money instead of putting it into this fund that ended up not getting spent. We would have much rather,
No,
as
wait, hold on.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, wait, hold on. But like before we actually go down this rabbit hole, let's talk about what that government money that wasn't spent was. Like it was literally, like for example, for keeping like a federal facility open for the duration of COVID, or paying the workers at this federal facility while they were on furlough or whatever, right? So like all this money was allocated for costs that would go into the following year. So like the money wasn't intended to be spent in full to begin with. That money was allocated in advance just in case, and they then proceeded to change where that money went after Trump left, which would be a perfectly reasonable thing to do. Like I don't like you're taking this thing that happened, which is like a regular government thing, and then saying, "Oh, well, this is where the corruption is." I don't think the corruption was there. I think the corruption in government is almost always where business and government meet.
I never
Right?
said
He
anything
never
about
said corruption.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're saying that the problem is that the
Allocation.
government allocated funds to these things like you're saying. And if
Yeah.
we really wanted to help the people or help these small businesses that really need this money, that preparation and that allocation that they were putting towards these other things was wrongly allocated. We would
No,
So,
have
those
rather-
are
can
the
I
drop
just
in the
jump in
bucket.
really quick, Mad Lad?
Like
To,
well, just
so
one more thing.
because here's
I
the
read
thing.
the
I'm just
bill.
gonna
I just wanna-
say,
I just wanna-
hold on though. You've talked a lot though, really quickly. I just want to say, just gonna say, I'm gonna be the bad guy again. I'll fucking say it. Okay. The incremental gain that we got as people in this country from the first bailout package in 2008 to the now, I guess we're gonna call it, like, looking back, we'll call it the second bailout, or like another bailout package for COVID. It's way better. What we didn't get anything in 2008. It was literally just all big business, Lehman Brothers, etc. And at least we got, what was it, 2000 or whatever it was, in checks, and then people who were unemployed were getting unemployment benefits.
extended.
And actually, just for the record, a lot of the money that is left unspent in the bill is actually towards continued unemployment benefits, and so the money won't be spent. Like, that's not how the money was meant to be spent, not all at once. It was meant to be dispersed over a longer period of time. But yeah, I'm just gonna say that incremental little bit, even though it's not much, that $2,000 in unemployment benefits, that's way more than we got in 2008. And I think we need to
But
not be happy about it. We need to, of course, demand more, and of course,
but
we need to
that wasn't
we need to vote for people to get us more. But
that
like,
wasn't unilateral though. Like it's a product of the historical context. You got more because of those people who got less, some of them being the same. It's because of what they struggled through and what they complained about is why you got more, and why people who didn't have to say anything, individuals who are like myself that I live with people. I didn't do anything. I woke up one day and then I saw that I had more than what people had in 2008 because those people in 2008 voiced their concerns and they complained and then they talked and then they asked more of like the legislators, and that's why we got more now. It's not disconnected. It's a product of it.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is that took a long time. And it's going to be the same with this. We're going to look back. We're going to see all the mistakes that we made. We're going to go, wow, how did we allow our elected officials to do this to us, to completely fuck us over and leave us high and dry, with now spiking at 1 million fucking COVID cases every single day? Am I looking at this fucking graph correctly?
It's not
Well,
a million now, but it did have a day or two that was a million.
I mean, like, I think the actual
Insanity.
strategy that's like not being voiced here is that if people get Omicron, then they'll be safe from a lot of the other variants of COVID. So they're just letting it happen. Like, I don't know if it's true or not. That's my
We
hypothesis.
don't have that
Huge
data yet,
misconception.
though.
Yeah, there's no data to in fact, it
There's
seems to
none.
be the exact opposite. Like people who have caught COVID in the past are just as likely to recatch and then have bad symptoms from COVID again after recatching it. There doesn't seem to be any type
We
of
don't
herd
know
immunity.
we don't know the effects, the full effects. We only know
Right.
like up to like what 2 years of what long COVID's gonna do. So even if we talk about short-term COVID effects, long COVID is like is the real like question mark, you know?
Oh yeah,
Right.
the deaths are
And I agree
bad,
with
but the
all that.
long COVID's going to be potentially horrendous on our medical system and people.
Yeah.
Ultimately,
I completely
I
agree with
think-
that,
talking
and I
about.
think that's like, but like that's not my point though. Like I agree with everything that was said. Like I think the Omicron spreading is not great. I think it's a very big problem. What I'm saying though is I think the government has kind of just like, or not just the government, all the governments have kind of acquiesced to the reality that there's no viable policy that can solve COVID. Like they even cut the number of days that people are in quarantine when they are exposed.
Because
Like,
they
you know,
It has a lot to do with
reality of
because
what
it's
we
an
have to
upper
do.
respiratory, and because of how Omicron spreads, it's upper respiratory. It also has a lot to do though, and this is going to sound really callous, but they said it. The government said this, and I totally agree with it. We were running out of first responders. We
Yes.
are currently running out of first responders, people to house our nursing, not nursing facilities, but like nurses and doctors. It's at first cops, firemen. Like some police stations are like running at 30 or running without 30% of their force. Like that's crazy. And that just is down the line, for all of the first responders, et cetera.
And
People who are really important to our society to function, including truck drivers and port workers, and warehouse loaders and people who work at
Was
grocery stores, et cetera. Those people also are completely and 100% necessary for our economy just to function. Now that we're finding that out now, like
this-
I'm personally not in the camp that inflation is a thing we're seeing a lot of. What we're seeing a lot of is
we
price.
we are though like
Well,
we
we're
are.
seeing price inflation, but it's not actual
Mm.
inflation in the way that we usually define it, which is like money being printed is causing our dollar to go down, because that's not exactly
It's
what's
just
happening.
as
It's
a
more
business.
like
That's exactly what's happening.
no, it's more like hold on. It's more like the price of something is going up because the shipping cost of it is
That-
going up.
That's
And
some of
that
it.
is
That's
not-
some of it.
And that is not due to the dollar being devalued. If you look at the
Ooh.
dollar chart, we're not losing value. That's simply just it's not true.
We are losing value because the bond rates.
Against who?
The
But against who?
But listen, the
Let
interest
him-
the interest rates on your mortgage, for example, if you have a mortgage, interest rates for bonds for 10-year bonds are so low right now. And what happens is these banks can loan money, these big businesses can loan money at very small interest rates, and the money supply is not, it's not just like, oh, there's printed money and then all the citizens get it and that's what causes inflation. What's causing inflation is that these banks, these big businesses, these big corporations, they're getting very low interest loans, so it's basically beneficial for them.
Where's the money going?
But listen,
The
what they
money
do
has
is,
to go
but hold on.
somewhere in
Okay,
order for
I'm gonna tell
inflation
you. I'm gonna tell you where it goes. Okay,
Well, I'm
listen.
trying to listen. You're just not making a lot of sense. I'm
Okay.
trying to make you make sense in order to go on. 'Cause
So
that's what you need
the
in order to
companies
continue
the
with this.
companies take out these loans. They get they get a bunch of money, right? Low interest loans. They can buy back their stocks. They can basically use this money to invest
what
in
they're
different
doing?
things. That is of course what they're doing. So that's why the stock market is, yes, look at the
Or is
stock
that
market.
just a really good
Yeah, I would just let
sounding?
him finish.
Look at the stock
But
market
none
right
of
now.
what he's saying is true.
Look at the stock market. Is it not at a
I
all-time
do
high?
look at the stock market. I'm an
Okay.
investor.
Okay. So look at the stock market at an all-time high. Does it make sense to you that the stock market in the economy we're living in right now is at an all-time high? Does that make any sense?
The value of these companies
Hold on.
is high because these companies are
They were
trying to
at-
produce.
They were at an all-time high before COVID.
But listen,
So wait,
they
before COVID, were we dealing with a huge inflation problem? Or oh damn, what you're saying doesn't make any sense.
No,
What
it makes
is
total sense.
happening
It makes
is
100%
that
sense.
what's happening is price inflation due to things like labor shortages, etc., and huge bottlenecks. Like when that fucking ship got trapped in the Suez Canal. What do you think that did for our fucking supply chains?
I'm not
Good or
saying
bad?
that's not
It
that
was
doesn't
horrible.
that
That's what it was.
contributes
I mean,
Trick
it's like
question.
that
one-
Yeah, I'm
contributes
more
to the
into
problem.
criticizing the supply
It's
chain
the-
hiccup
it's-
factor with like the lockdowns coming on and off. I think that's something I agree with Captain A. Jones that we can criticize that more. I think big business and big government hate is a tempting scapegoat, but also not where our focus should be. I think we can trust our current infrastructure more in big business with big government are pretty good for arranging those first responders, which are important. I'm fine to criticize big business and government elsewhere, but that's a different battle, I think. I want to pull us out of this rabbit hole and go back to the question
But how
Wigglish just
so?
brought up. What's that?
Like how so? Or like how are you saying that they know how to deal with this well? Like when they're talking about
Well,
like
for allocating resources, I mean, I don't want to go into that. I mean, is there a pressing thing you want me to answer on this? Before
No, I was just gonna. I was like, I was first like the idea of like it's some price inflation, it's some other thing or what have you. It's about the material reality to Captain A. Jones is that if my dollar means more or less. Like for
I think
me,
that's a different. I think that's a different problem. To what the quest like to what the main focus should be.
Prescriptively, it's a different
You were
problem, and descriptively, it's a different
Yeah,
problem.
and
I would
then-
Yeah, Wigglicious. Earlier, you were saying,
Yeah.
to focus on Mad Aladdin's thing of okay, what does taking it seriously look like? Because he was saying, hey, we should take it more seriously. Both sides need to take it more seriously. What does it look like? You
did I say
added,
that?
right?
If I
Yeah, you
did
did,
say
you
that,
did,
it
and
sounds
I agree with you.
awful. Thank you.
What? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I agree with that focus, and I think that's key. Emphasis on look. I think this is a big optics problem for both sides that need to, we all need to come together on. Broadly, populists from both sides hate on big business, everything, yeah, whatever. Feels like a scapegoat to me. Let's ditch that rabbit hole. We know that cultural conservatives can be into holding their politicians accountable when there's a moral agreement. And I think those same cultural conservatives will be friendlier to measures RobeMan complained about, or at least more engaging in compromises if they're, in line with it. Like the problem you have is that, the Boris Johnson voters, they're just on his side morally for like, yeah, let's flout the rules and everything. Let's be lax about it. As the Turk alluded to earlier in the panel, conservatives value consistency, or at least claim to. I think they value something, more like honor, it feels like in this, like keeping to that spirit of the party line
Bushido.
and holding people. Yeah, you could say that, yeah. And holding people to that spirit is what they're preaching more. So I think it's important to criticize conservatives on that same basis. So case in point, I think a more interesting comparison than Boris Johnson to the Gavin Newsom. Oh, sorry if I get the name wrong of the Democrat. With the I think a more interesting case, the European Union had a conservative politician who could be compared to Gavin Newsom more closely, being their hypocrisy happened earlier in the pandemic. I'm just going to link this real quick. This is yeah, so this politician had to resign over breaching COVID restrictions, but it was because they were having a gay orgy. This was during lockdown,
I
so
remember
it was like, oh hey, yeah, this was really bad. And the conservatives did criticize this heavily. And so conservatives can and will criticize when there is like a moral objection. Conservatives will criticize when the left seems to care more about their image or making a buck. But it seems when conservatives, are asked about it, they tend to keep quiet about breaching restrictions and hand wave it. But a case like this shows they care more about homophobia and perpetuating that over the restrictions. I think criticizing on this angle and going, okay, where can is there a positive moral alignment that we can come together with cultural conservatives on to kind of say, hey, we can be for this rather than being anti, right? Like the big government, everything, which we can fight those battles elsewhere. I think we can go, okay, I don't like mandates. I like lockdowns that are shorter, and we can try and encourage conservatives to be on board more. And so, I mean, I could go a bit into that, but if anyone has any thoughts out the gate, I do have a
This is
suggestion.
extremely, for me, it's like extremely partisan. It's like if you
Yeah.
wanna bring people together, like the easiest would be like the original statement, the idea of like holding your representatives accountable across the board. Idea of tailoring things specifically to like conservatives is just going to lead to a backlash of
Well,
conservatives
holding
tailoring
people
things
accountable, like
specifically.
they have to want to hold people accountable, right? So
Exactly.
they have to care. So they're willing to hold people accountable if they're caught having a gay orgy, because it breaches lockdown, but not for other reasons so much, right? And so what could conservatives care about? And for my conservative side that I can come onto this, I can say, okay, for my view on lockdowns, so I kind of view it as like a little bit more like how some conservatives view death penalty. So I don't like mandates. I like lockdowns. And my view on lockdowns is a bit similar to like death penalty or putting down an animal. So I like a short, swift, and decisive approach. If a life form is a threat to your population, there's good reason to bring it to heel and to kill it. If we have a rampaging serial killer or terrorist, conservatives are often okay to exercise measures to kill that life. We have less moral hang-up over putting down mad dogs or rabid animals. So body snatching, alien, sleep rage and passenger virus things, we should be more okay with. So can we kind of try to galvanize around this and be like, okay, why not, have a culture that we encourage that we're saying, hey, let's kind of go to war on COVID. We can
Okay,
say,
so
we can go Starship
Culture.
Troopers
I can
on them.
actually give you exactly what I would have done if I had Donald Trump's ideology and I was in Donald Trump's position, like February 2020, right? Like the way I would have dealt with this is in the most xenophobic way possible, right? Like he started with the whole like travel ban to China, but he could have actually used his like war on illegal immigration. He could have used like all that like stuff. He could have applied like he could have actually followed through on his campaign promises like building a wall and all this other like isolationist rhetoric and fight COVID. And if he took COVID seriously at that moment, at that time, I think it would have been possible for him to have like done all the things and gotten reelected even. And
Yeah,
gotten
I agree. I
reelected
agree.
in
He
like
could
a
have
very
actually had a better
now.
chance to build the wall if he
Now here's my point.
morally
So-
galvanized on
Right.
that.
So wait, let me
Elected
let me
Sure,
get my point out though. There's a really important reason why I'm talking about this. So I think he could have been.
He could have gotten elected last year.
No.
way.
If he,
Wait,
if
wait,
I'm
wait,
sorry.
what?
Excuse
No
me.
way.
Pause. I just
Donald Trump was really popular before COVID. I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of his like
Okay.
With all the apparatus that was going on, there was no
Okay,
positive
no,
spin that Trump
whatever.
could have
No,
gotten in 2020
I'm
to
sorry.
get
He
elected.
could have.
His
He
party was
absolutely.
just
No,
broken
if he took If he took COVID seriously, he would have gotten reelected easily.
if COVID
Absolutely.
never
He wouldn't
happened,
have.
he
Joe,
would
I'm
have gotten
sorry.
reelected.
Joe Biden is like. I
The
mean,
most
nobody
popular
wanted Joe Biden
president
as
ever.
right.
He's the
Like he's
most
a shit.
popular.
Like Joe
81
Biden
million
was
votes.
not someone's like anybody's choice.
Wait,
Like,
we,
it was
we
just like
cannot
literally. But
we
it doesn't
cannot
even matter.
say that Joe Biden's the most popular if like people
Most
believe they're
popular.
between
81
two
million
choices.
votes.
100%. But how many of those votes were just because they
Nobody
didn't want
want
Donald Trump?
right.
'Cause he's the most
Exactly.
But
popular
even
president.
said, but outside of that, like
All right,
if COVID
whatever.
never happened,
Hold on, let me
Donald
get my
Trump
point
would have
across.
won.
I don't give a fuck about
Your
Donald Trump.
point's dumb. I don't
Okay,
even need to
no.
listen to it, man.
Okay, no. So the Turk, fuck you, first of all. Like, I'm not talking about Donald Trump in terms of could he have, like, I'm not actually having this debate with you about whether Donald Trump could have won 2020 if he took COVID seriously. I mean, I'm pretty sure that he would have, and we can debate that later, but, like, fuck off anyway. What I'm saying is that Donald Trump could have followed through on all of his xenophobic policies, all his campaign promises, all the different things, and used COVID as his excuse, the linchpin for implementing those policies and suppressing democratic resistance to those policies. And by doing so, would have changed the entire political landscape and maybe gotten reelected. I'm not a fortune teller or anything, but like either way, he could have implemented his policies and used COVID as an excuse. And I think that would be the vision that Scrawn was referring to. Now, my point here wasn't this would have gotten Donald Trump elected. My point here was, is that a vision of fighting COVID that we want even remotely?
Well, so I don't think you have to go that hardcore as to go for Trump's side. I think we can go for a more moderate conservative view. So my view being just, let's just kill the stupid virus and, be for that. Like conservatives, can support culturally war on drugs, war on crime, war on this and that. And those don't go so well necessarily, right? And we're shy about that, I understand. But let's kill the virus, I think could be
not
good.
necessarily COVID. It's like a part of the universality of like not following measures is like not being able to be around people and like wearing masks. Like nobody likes.
Well, that's
wearing
the frame.
masks.
That's the framing,
Nobody
right?
likes-
And you're allowing that narrative to control how it's framed.
It's not a
And I think
narrative.
we
It's
can
a
try
it's
and
a
change
re-
the
it's not
narrative,
just a
right?
narrative. It's not just a story. It's a reality. It's
Well,
like
it's
you
both,
want
I
to
would
be
say,
around
almost,
your
right?
kinfolk. You don't want to wear a mask. So like having a way of phrasing it this late into the game, why would these individuals, are they like sheep? Like why would they just change their perspective if they still like have to wear masks and they can't be around the people they want to be around? That seems to be
Well,
like
if the
quintessential.
right won't take a positive position on stopping COVID, maybe the left could co-opt that while they have the
I
momentum.
think
Yeah, but
I think
you
the
don't
thing
stop
that's
Kind of
COVID.
bring
universal-
over.
You're
I
not
think
going
the
to
thing
stop
that's
That's
COVID.
what happened, though. That's exactly what happened. The left did co-opt that.
I think the thing that you can
right
But
convince
for-
people is you can
so-
convince people to take a vaccine, but the problem we're having is convincing people to wear masks and not be close to each other. But we can convince.
So I don't think
or
the
we
sorry,
can-
Madeline was just saying I don't agree like the left did do that. Not really, right? Like we're not seeing that they're
How did the
encouraging
Democrats
people
win
to
the 2020 election,
So,
though?
okay,
with Joe
so-
Biden at the helm.
So, well, it's about the framing, right? So it's like, okay, let's kind of have the herd immunity. Let's do that stuff. Like, let's keep keep each other safe, whatever. I think taking a more aggressive stance against the virus and like, that kill it approach, I think might actually be better for culture, like right-leaning people to say, look, the virus is a menace, right? Like, it's a nasty thing. We should stop it. Like a more confrontational and aggressive stance on it. Basically, because
I
like
mean,
the left instead
that
kind
would've
of take this
been-
negative approach where it's like, oh hey, the problem is you need to watch out, you're gonna infect people, you're gonna do, instead
Well,
we
that
should
has been a
otherize the
problem.
virus rather than making it our own personal problem so much.
I don't think the,
The prob-
right isn't trying to kill the virus because they're like against like their own messaging tactics that they've used for drugs and stuff. I think they just don't treat the virus as like that level of threat. Like just think about how many conservatives.
I think that's part of it, but I think we can
how many
encourage conservatives to accept that it's that level of threat. I
Yeah,
think
but
that needs to be communicated.
How?
And I think that's why, especially when people on the left, when Democrats communicate things like, and again, like this does get overhyped, but I do think this is an important thing. When you get Democrat representatives failing, it's a much bigger failure because of this, because you see that ability to convince people to take it seriously. So when you have, for instance, and I don't want to dwell on this, but like I think it was really bad that Kamala Harris was like, hey, if Trump says take the vaccine, I don't know about that. I'll have to wait till that was really boneheaded. I think that was terrible for getting people. She had to acknowledge the threat was great enough that it would bridge. Hey, yeah, if the president, they're my president. She was basically tapping into the hashtag not my president shtick, and I don't think
Right,
that's good
but,
for
like-
recognizing the threat of COVID that was valid. I think that
Right.
was terrible.
I mean, I agree that was terrible, but I also wouldn't say that Kamala Harris is like, some sort of shining representative of like what a Democrat should be anyway, right?
But
Like,
it
It was vice
probably- well,
president,
hold on,
right?
hold on,
Like
hold on,
for
hold
the.
on. No,
I mean,
that's what she was
she's
going
the
for.
vice, she's the
So
vice
wait.
president now, but
Well,
like,
wait, Donald Trump, when he was president, when the fucking pandemic first started, literally made masks a goddamn issue. Literally made masks an issue. He wouldn't wear one, remember? Because he didn't want to look weak, and he took his fucking mask off on the fucking White House lawn with reporters right fucking there. right
Oh
fucking
yeah,
there.
yeah.
That's way. I'm sorry, but
I,
like,
I said I would say this again.
I'm-
The
but-
Democrats
but-
have the problem of when
I'm
they go
less
low,
even-
we go high, and the
I'm
Democrats
less
had
even
to
talking
alter
to you.
that.
I was
They
talking to
didn't-
Badland. It was
No,
like,
I
this
mean,
is the
I-
argument you
okay,
should
No, I mean,
use.
like,
I apologize.
my point is, like, okay,
The-
so first
like-
of all, when they go low, we go high was the shittiest fucking campaign slogan that ever happened. Like, straight up. So basically, Donald Trump got to do all his not ostentatious, like, it's just crazy bullshit. While Hillary Clinton was just like, oh no, I'm better than this. I'm
You-
not going to get into it with
Yeah,
them.
but you have to halt to that
you-
once
but
you're
you
actually
have to-
doing
you-
that.
you have to
Why?
understand
It's
the-
a
And if you
shit-
did, then
no,
they would be
it
respected.
is-
That's
no.
all the conservatives are
No.
asking
you
for.
gotta understand the
Conservatives are
irony.
asking
You-
for
You have to understand the irony of this is that you guys are talking about like how conservatives thinks or how to appeal to conservatives, and then you don't even listen to the two conservatives that are just sitting there, like they would
Mad
just
Lad
tell you.
is a secret MAGA person. I think he knows the inner workings.
I mean,
So
Look,
I want to touch on some
I'm
of
not
Jones's statement.
trying to apply I didn't say anything about how MAGA people think. What are you talking about?
This is what Scron was talking about, and then you guys were like talking about this for the longest time.
Well, this is the thing is you want to appeal to conservatives, and this is the one thing as a conservative that I hate hearing is like, I don't want to hear what you think about what I should do. Like, come at me with your ideas, come at me with your plan. Stop telling me what to do, what to think, what to put in my body, how to do anything. And I just think that the liberal mindset is like, let me control. Like you said, you wanted a lockdown, you wanted to just go gung ho, lock it down, give everybody money. And this is the problem: is that you just want to control. You want everything to be done your way, and it's like, nobody wants to hear this shit. You vilify conservatives as these trailer park people who are stupid and idiotic, and they don't even know
Who the
how
fuck
to.
said that?
I'm not saying you said that, but that is the
Oh,
liberal.
not just that, also with a southern accent. Come on.
But
you
this
gotta
is
get
the
it right.
thing. This is the thing. Is if you have any type of conservative view, the liberal media, they like to just dump everybody into this one idea of a conservative, and you can't even have an argument anymore with.
Bro, you're
with
scapegoating like super hard.
I'm not scapegoating at all. It's
Oh,
you just said
I agree
it.
with RobeMan a bit here. That I agree that conservatives do need to be given a bit more respect. I really do believe so, and I think that was disrespectful of Kamala Harris and for other Democrats, because that's you're not just being hypocritical. You're also saying, okay, well, you're giving a middle finger to the conservatives that you're trying to encourage, right? There seems to be a lack of encouragement by the left for the right to get on board.
I
mean,
very,
so, like,
very similar phrasing could also be had on a lot of the Senate conversations that are going on. They keep saying that a minority of people in the Senate are keeping bills from passing. It's like, no, the other half of the Senate plus two of your own party don't even agree with what you're trying to pass. You're writing off an entire group of people saying that your opinion doesn't matter, when in fact, that opinion actually is what's keeping some of the stuff that's trying to be passed going forward. So there's
These
a lot of
arguments in 2008 when there was actually or 2010 when there was actually some sort of enough unity between the two parties that I could see some sort of compromise happening somehow. I had a lot of hope.
But the left-
Wait. I had a lot of hope. I had a lot of hope March 2009 when I saw this panel. There's Barack Obama, there was John McCain, and it was being live streamed. I was watching on C-SPAN, and I remember Barack Obama saying, "I agree with you, John McCain," and then John McCain was about to provide some sort of counter argument, and then he fumbled his words, and he was surprised that the president and he were seeing eye to eye on this healthcare issue, right? That was a wonderful, fantastic moment. That
And they touched dicks, and
And then-
written
right.
in the cars,
and then everything
Why
went
they
to
don't
shit.
show that on
The,
YouTube
the
anymore.
left, the
Shut
left
fuck
are the
I-
ones who did this, though. You guys labeled us as racist, sexist, misogynistic people for 4
When?
years. What do you mean when? In 2016, if you voted for Trump,
Yes.
you were considered a racist.
2016, when Donald Trump was running on misogynistic and racist rhetoric.
Okay,
right?
but you lumped all conservatives into that idea of a misogynistic, racist person. So if you didn't vote for
I
Hillary,
mean,
that's what
I
you
mean,
were.
like-
That's what you
And
labeled
this
us
did
as.
happen. This did happen. It was
Yeah,
if
but,
you were,
Okay, so you
if you
start
were
basically you
racist-
started it is what happened. You started this whole divide of if you're a conservative, you must be a racist, you must be misogynistic, and then conservatives hear that and go, I can't even have a conversation with you because you're going to go on Twitter and make me lose my job if I even have any disagreement with you.
Wait.
It's a little bit more. It's is that if you are like a racist person and you're voting and you like wear your heart on your sleeve, there was a poll for you to be voting for Donald Trump. That doesn't mean everyone that voted for Donald Trump is this, but that's where
Exactly.
it kind of like derives.
And I would also say that like Democrats weren't necessarily accusing all conservatives of being racist and misogynist. Like you just like grouped all Democrats together and like treated all Democrats as like
kinda do.
one individual.
No, but your
In the same
media
way
was
that you're, like, in
your
the same
media
way that
was.
you're- I mean, no. Oh, okay. So it's the media. You're doing the
Democrats-
scapegoating thing again.
Democ-
You're changing
No,
the
this is-
goalposts here.
Wait, hold
Democrats
on.
like,
You don't call
time.
you don't call MSNBC personally and talk to Chris Hayes to tell him exactly how you feel about
Oh
these fucking
fuck, you're right.
Republicans?
I do. I do.
Dude, I
all
do
the
that
time.
literally every single
Oh,
night.
man.
What are you
No,
doing?
Like, it's really hilarious to hear an argument saying
Jeez, Mad
all
Lad.
Democrats are saying this about all
I
Republicans.
talked to Anderson Cooper
right?
on the daily, Mad Lad. I don't know what you're doing over there.
It's such a shit argument.
Like it's like whatever.
How is it a
it's
shit
like-
argument? You have the support of all the mainstream media, basically
Well,
just
that's
running
funny.
cover. Hold on, hold on.
The mainstream media does not represent my beliefs at all.
I'm not saying you personally, but I'm saying the liberal side is
love
the
Chris
liberal side has the support of all major corporations. Not all, I shouldn't say all. 90% of major corporations. Hold on, 90% of the mainstream media
terms
all
of
has
what?
all is running support. Joe Biden cannot get a hard question to save his life. What are you talking
I'm
about?
sorry. Hold on. Who
Listen,
owns
I
most of
would-
the local news media? Is
I
it
think-
the left or the right?
What was
I don't
that?
think-
Right?
I don't think.
Right.
the
Did you
president-
just watch Trump
right
walk off
wing-
an
I'm
NPR
sorry.
interview?
I
That's
don't-
that you get to have a really clear contrast on what
I
we
don't-
used to have and what we have now.
And I'm not like what I'm saying is that like you don't have to like I'm not saying that the left and like liberal is like perfect. And I'm not even arguing against like some of the points you're saying. I'm arguing against this idea that you're a victim and all Democrats are doing this thing. You are literally taking everybody and lumping them in the same way that you're accusing.
Do you
the
not
right-
agree? Do you not
Democratic
agree
Party.
that the left has the support of major corporations, major media? They are on your side. To sit here and say that you
Now,
are
the
like
left
this.
is- You understand the left is split, right? Like there's like leftists and liberals.
Okay,
And like the mainstream media might be like more
The leftists
liberal.
in the
Not
United
true.
States.
All leftists
but,
are in one
like-
camp, never argue
United
with each
States-
other on Twitter or anything. That's
And,
all
like,
lies.
If you think AOC is a leftist, I mean that's funny in itself. And like, what is that? 4 leftists? what is that? Is like that's enough for like a book reading club, all right? But honestly, outside of that, like, he's absolutely right. Like, the Democrats are like, they do vilify people in groups like that. I will just discount. The only thing that I have to say is that the executive, they're privy no matter what to criticism. Like just the other day, you have like newspapers railing against Joe Biden. Joseph Biden's extremely unpopular right now. He's not protected by the idea that he's a Democrat. I think specifically the executive branch doesn't get that leeway with mainstream media. But you could say that for like the rest of these individuals, and it falls right back into what the Turk was saying before: is that you have a whole section, a whole half of our government that isn't going to pass. Is going to pass what Joe Biden wants to go through. Is going to pass what Nancy Pelosi or Schumer want. However, all the blame is falling on what? Like Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema. It's kind of disgusting, the idea that they're just ruling out your whole side. They're ruling out these people. They're not blaming them to a larger extent. It's just like, well, they're just conservatives. That's what they're going to do anyway. Who cares? Like, this is just them. The real problem is the smart people. Is like, I can't believe Joe Manchin. You're on the right side. You're on the smart side. Why are you acting like, them? And that's what they're doing. That's what the Democrats do.
Have seen some of that. I'm not disagreeing that that narrative exists. I just don't think it's an accurate reflection of like what all Democrats are thinking, generally speaking. Like I think it's like the message that's being put out. Obviously, like that's where they're going with for sure. But
That's single
like,
boosting. That's like it's the argument that if RobeMan, like honestly he's not, I would doubt he's talking about every single Democrat.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not.
It's the idea of like the signal boosting. If the people at the top are doing this, then
So
instead that
I
they-
don't think
Hillary Clinton called all Trump supporters deplorable. Like that was from your candidate.
yeah,
you're using
what was
the
Trump
your,
calling? What was Trump calling Hillary? And what was Trump calling Hillary
She should
supporters.
be locked up. It was
What
one
was
of
it? You
the-
tell me,
one of
because
the-
I know I heard Hillary call people deplorables. What did Trump call Hillary supporters?
RobeMan, it wasn't a question that he needed
like-
answering. Also, Wiggles answered it. But
Let's
like,
go to. Can we just
but
talk
hold
about
on, Badland.
I want to
Badland,
ask
hold
RobeMan
on.
to Turk a question.
Go ahead.
The reason that you bring that up, but the reason that I bring that up is because the problem with like calling out like Hillary is that the other or the Democrats rather for behavior of putting people in boxes or whatever it is that you want to is that the other side does it possibly even more. Like the thing is, everyone does it. Watch Fox News or OAN or whatever the fuck the Republicans are watching nowadays, and they're also doing the thing that
They're
we're
watching Joe
complaining
Biden
about.
make an ass of himself. But no, I'm just fucking.
I mean, like, but they're talking like literally fucking Hannity and whatever the fuck they're called. Like, I don't fucking know their names anymore. I'm glad.
I'm saying, get out.
They're
get
talking
out of-
about how
get
Biden's
out
like
of
The
literally
Democrats have to lead by
fucking-
example here. The Democrats
out
really
of
have
the
to lead by
brain
example here. And that's
dead.
why I was saying
It's
it's a greater
crazy.
moral failing for
Get out
them
of the
to
Democrat pants.
have these missteps. I
If the-
do think it's
If
more
they
important.
fail you, if the
Look, I
Democrats
think
fail you,
generally people
the
think when
Republicans
Donald
fail
Trump
you,
talks.
move on.
Go on.
There ain't no other. There's no other moving on. There's nothing.
But this is the divisiveness here is like you're hearing from like Turk or RobeMan, right? And they're conservative. You may not agree with what they're saying,
Definitely
but
not RobeMan.
but you're pulling up to what defend in essence a side you don't even agree with. Why not?
Well, but
join them
okay.
in
So
disagreeing?
I'm like I'm in my 30s now.
Just
And
because
I
what,
used
they're
to be
conservative, like, who cares?
much more idealistic. So I used to definitely vote with like my heart, and I used to vote my conscience. You know what I mean? I vote for the people who I believe in. I think that's look. I don't want to call it naive, okay? Because I don't blame people for voting like that. But I don't think that it's realistic, and it's why I personally do not vote like that. I vote very party line. And I'm in California. I have the freedom to vote not party line oftentimes, and I still fucking do.
So
Oh,
why
baby, I
is
still
California in
fucking do.
shambles right now? You've been voting party
Okay,
line.
hold on, dude.
No, okay,
Rob, man,
let
do
me
you
just-
live here?
okay,
I
just-
live in San Francisco, my dude.
I'm sorry to
Nothing is
hear
in
that.
shambles.
Okay,
I'm sorry to hear
Nothing is
that.
in
All right.
shambles.
I'm
Let me
sorry to
just
hear
play
that.
Beautiful. The city is
fuck this
beautiful
shit.
as ever.
No,
all right?
I don't want to do Democrat versus Republican.
I know you
anymore.
don't like it, but
California
Let's
is
go
a
fucking
joke.
go.
Man,
California
hold on,
is
man.
in shambles.
Hold on.
Shut the
I gotta
fuck up
I
for a
gotta
second.
correct this dumb narrative really
No,
quickly.
no. I don't give a fuck.
No.
Let's have this.
California
No,
is on a
no.
downward spiral. You are
It's
done.
literally
The
not.
dumbest
It's
You are
on an
done.
upward spiral.
You're
California has
done.
always
No one wants
been
to live
on
in
the up and
California.
up.
People are leaving your
Guys,
state like
People are not
flies.
oh my God, that's literally a lie. If you
It's
just
not a
look it
lie.
up, you would know that that's a lie. But
That's
you're
not
too
a
dumb
lie.
to actually look it up.
No,
I'm
okay,
not-
this is okay. This
I
is
get
actually.
it. I get it.
this is
Looking
really
stuff
dumb.
up is too hard for you.
All right, guys.
Go ahead and do it right now, please.
Democrats and Republicans help each other fuck shit up. The demonization, saying, "Oh, all Democrats have done this and all Republicans have done this," just feeds this whole like narrative spiral that's like eventually going to get us towards systemic collapse. Okay, so when I hear anybody say, "Oh yeah, California is fucked" or "Texas is fucked" or whatever else, all I think is, "Oh, well, this is going to totally help the situation." It doesn't.
And it's
So,
also
like,
not true.
it.
Texas is doing
No, I don't.
fine.
No, shut the fuck up.
California's doing
No,
fucking
But like,
great.
no.
why would you vote
It's just
like
not
down
true.
the?
God
why would
damn
you?
it.
Why would you vote down like in a presidential
Fuck it.
election? Why would you vote D just to vote D when you have the
Because I'm voting
potential to do
against
something
R.
more?
It's
Why?
the most
It doesn't
uninformed.
matter.
It's the most uninformed thing I've ever heard.
Wait, hold
You
on.
just
Who's
vote
the
for your
candidate?
team. You're just voting for your
Bernie? I
team.
voted for Bernie.
How'd that work
I
out?
got a question I want to ask.
Well, he
Roman
didn't get, and then I
Turk.
voted for Biden. It didn't work
The
out,
reason
obviously.
why-
It did not matter
Jesus
whether you
fucking
voted
Christ.
for Biden or not. Why
So,
wouldn't you vote
I
third
will
party?
say, Why will
Why would
say,
I
Are you
vote
just- are
third
you just
party when we have a
left-leaning
fucking
people
tyrant
hating on
in
Democrats
government?
now?
I'm
Is this-
voting. I'm
Why are we
voting
focusing on this?
against.
California is gonna go for Biden regardless. You think California?
Madeline,
hold
just-
on, hold on.
I think
hold
let's
on.
not continue
We had
Biden's-
no idea California was going to go Bernie. That was totally unexpected. I
Okay,
don't think
but-
it's fair to
It's
just
pretty
say
fair
that.
to assume that
I should
California is
vote
not gonna go
I
California.
should vote third party because I live in California. I think that that's
Yes.
first of all. I think that that's a cop out because which third party candidate? I didn't like any of them.
Cop out from individuals who said
which
you didn't even
third-party
read. You
candidate?
just put D.
Wiggles.
Like-
Which third party candidate?
I don't know. Joe Jorgensen.
You don't know.
Joe Jorgensen. I don't know.
I didn't like
libertarian-
Joe Jorgensen. What
let's
the fuck?
vote for
It
that
doesn't-
person.
It literally doesn't matter.
It does
as long,
matter.
As long as it's a
If
third
you're
party
telling me to
candidate.
vote my heart, then why the fuck would
Why
I
did
vote
I-
for somebody who doesn't have my heart?
Well, you're not voting your brain because you're a fucking liberal. So obviously it's not your brain.
Good on there,
it's
Robe
the
Man.
idea of voting
Good-
for
good
a
job,
third
bud.
party, so a third party gets more support, and the Libertarian Party is one of the more
The
popular
third party
parties.
has lost support ever since Nader, ever since 2000. It's unfortunate. That's the world that we live in. I'm sorry. That's
And
the
is why
reality
you're
that
an
I
old
live
man.
in.
This is why you're an old man. Is this what you're going to teach your
I am
children?
an old man.
Is
Shit,
to
I'm in my
capitulate a
30s.
two-party
Captain A. Jones,
system?
I got a question
This
for
is
you.
just
Wait,
how
We
it
do have a
is.
two-party
The
system. We
two-party
gotta live
system is
with
gonna
it. We
crack
gotta work
itself.
with what we
Like,
got.
You sound like the village elder. Like why don't you
Like,
just like
Well, thank you. That
No.
means I
deep into
sound
your
wise.
soul,
All
deep
right,
into your
I
soul,
appreciate
pull out
that.
the 18-year-old in you. Pull out the person that had hope in this country.
Fuck no, the
and maybe
18-year-old
we
in
can
me.
listen to them.
Wiggles, the 18-year-old in me voted for Ron Paul. No, we're not pulling that motherfucker out. We're keeping him in the
Like-
fucking dirt where I put
Damn,
him.
hey, you
okay?
used to be smart. You voted
That-
Ron Paul,
No,
dude. What
I used to
happened?
be a fucking idiot.
You used to be
I like
smart.
how
You voted for
Roman
Ron
is
Paul.
gonna tell us
Now
he's
what
smarter.
happened? Now
Okay.
you're voting for Gavin Newsom? What's going on here?
See, the thing is, I changed and I grew up. That's
Yo.
what, unlike.
Oh,
unlike
really?
You, apparently.
Oh,
No,
really?
you
Not
you
you,
cucked
Wiggles.
out,
I'm not
buddy.
talking to you,
You
Wiggles.
became
I'm
you
talking
became
to
a
Roman.
cuck. You became a cuck. That's what happened.
Like is
I
growing up, is
changed my
growing
style
up
of
is thinking less?
clothing. Everything.
Is
Everything
growing
about
up
me is
thinking less
different
like
than like 14
I'm Peter
years
Pan.
ago.
I'm Peter Pan at this point, man. Like if that's
Bro.
what growing up is I'm just not gonna think. You know, like DNR. I guess I'm in the Dominican Republic. I'm
you
just
know,
gonna close my eyes and
I've
circle whichever
stated
one,
pretty
like-
rational takes as to why.
Captain, you dunked on yourself when you said all you do is vote D down the line. That's it. I don't want to hear nothing else
I
from you.
did.
You just
You're
you
damn
just
right I
follow
did.
the party line. You have no thought on the matter itself. You just want to make sure it goes.
That all you do is repeat like right-wing talking points.
What are you
Like,
talking
you're
about?
both do-
True.
You've been
True.
like, it doesn't even matter.
RobeMan is
Like,
he's
no,
he's
I'm
worse
not-
than problematic Pan for sure.
How am I worse? Go ahead. Let me. What are my talking points that I'm repeating?
So,
Because unlike problematic Pan, who at least when he asks a question, it's usually the same ridiculous like a hypothetical that's way off to the fucking off the spectrum. But with you sound almost like an Alex Jones. It's question after question
do-
and
but-
wrong fact after wrong
Okay.
fact, which makes them bullshit.
What is
It
my
literally
wrong
doesn't
fact?
matter.
Or you
What
just
is my
have the
wrong
fucking-
fact?
Oh,
What is my
by the
wrong
way,
fact?
RobeMan, hey, by the way, RobeMan, I noticed that you didn't say shit about the fucking thing that I told you to look up earlier, even though I saw you look it up.
What
Why?
what thing?
Oh, because that's because
Okay,
people
look,
aren't
hey, guys,
leaving
I
California,
wanna
you
push
idiot.
back. Hey,
You
Captain
fucking
Jones,
right
Captain
wing
Jones
talking
and
point
Madeline.
cuck. Fuck you.
So
Okay, look,
Yeah,
Matt.
Jones,
Okay,
can I
really,
respond to that?
hot, really awesome, really cool. But okay,
I can respond to
as,
Captain
as far as
Jones on
repeating stuff, look, Madeline
muted?
and Captain Jones have both been repeating talking points as well. Okay,
Yeah.
Madeline has been repeating the whole both the left and the right establishment are screwing over the country. That's really boring, I find. I don't think that's getting us anywhere, and I think that
imagine how boring that. No, but it's actually
but I'm
like
doing that. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole anymore, okay? I'm tired of that. Now, for Captain A. Jones, I get it, you're jaded, but let's move on from that, okay? Others are more idealistic. Let's focus on the idealism, okay? I think that's the ticket to actually progressing somewhere. So, I have a question for RobeMan and the Turk that I've really been wanting to get at here. You know, Captain A. Jones said, why would conservatives why would someone vote for someone who doesn't have their heart? Whatever, you said it like rhetorically, but I think that's a good question. Why would conservatives vote for someone who doesn't have their heart? I think the Democrats need to have the heart of the conservatives to vote for them. I think
20
you want to
years.
sway.
What do you mean?
So hold
How
on.
many
So,
Democrats have kissed a gun in the last 20 years?
I want to ask the question, all right? So Democrats, okay, the feeling I get is that Democrats went to war with Republicans instead of going to war with the virus. I want to ask RobeMan and the Turk, compared to how things have been dealt with so far, would you prefer a shorter and swifter lockdown, treating it like a war emergency, instead of demonizing everyone for not being on board with mandates, to instead appreciate that COVID is more of a threat and focusing on pushing that, right?
Go ahead, Turk. You can go. You can go.
Can y'all hear me? Is my mic okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, cool. Because I've been trying to answer Captain Jones about California population stuff, but y'all just blew over me. But anyways, answering your question, I think if you're wanting to actually have a conversation with conservatives about the pandemic, it comes down to personal responsibility. As a conservative, I have the responsibility to myself, my family, my immediate friends to protect myself and them. And if it's in terms of the virus, yes, I should social distance, I should wear a mask, and I should get the vaccine. And if you go and actually have a legit conversation with people instead of demonizing them like we've been talking about through these past few minutes, bring the statistics, bring the actual studies that show that vaccines have a positive effect toward yourself and your communities, and have an actual conversation with people instead of trying to shove something down their throat, either through a mandate or through other sorts of authoritarian things that like the left likes to do. You're going to get a much stronger response from them, and maybe even a positive response. Because I think someone mentioned earlier that conservatives love the death penalty, and we need to be, killing people that have done bad things and deserve it. I am one of those conservatives that have changed my tune on that, because if you have an actual conversation, not demonize the other person behind a mic or on the ear or when you're in the subway or whatever, you can actually like come to an agreement as a society. And what's going on here on this panel saying you're bad, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm good, that's not constructive. And this past 30 minutes has been a big waste of time here, to be honest. So, yes, if you were to say, guys, you should get vaccinated because the numbers prove that by getting vaccinated, you're less likely to go to the hospital, you're less likely to die, and you're less likely to impact yourself going to work. That's a pretty based and reasonable thing to say to people.
RobeMan, how about you?
Okay, so I feel like that was a nicer answer than I want to bring. For me, it's like basically you say what kind of lockdown should we do? My opinion is lockdowns are a fucking joke. We shouldn't have lockdown at all. You're not going to stop this virus. It's a force of nature. Just let's get it. Let's get on with it. It's going to happen. We have to live our life. What we've done to this country economically. I live in Massachusetts, very liberal state. I am witnessing the destruction of my community around me. They are putting in vaccine mandates. The vaccine mandates can suck my dick. First of all, it's ridiculous. I'm not saying that the vaccines don't work, but I'm saying once you mandate these things in Boston, Boston itself has a vaccine mandate basically where you cannot go into a bar, into any type of entertainment complex without showing your vaccine passport. All that's doing is ruining economies. You're just basically taking the customer base, cutting it in half because what do we have? About 60% vaccine uptake in our state. So all of these things that people are trying to do to save the country. Yeah, I get it. The virus is real. I'm not one of these people who says it's fake or that Bill Gates has microchips in the vaccine and stuff like that. But all these mandates and lockdowns, all you're doing is trading one problem for another. The social aspect on our children that you're seeing in these schools. My wife's a teacher. Kids are socially just out. They just don't know how to deal socially right now. It's crazy, and I think the lockdowns themselves are causing a lot of the issues that you're seeing. Suicides. You're seeing, marital problems. Domestic abuses are up. You might save people from this goofy little flu that everyone has. Yeah, it kills older people. I'm sorry, that sucks. But to what we're doing to this country, especially liberal states, is going to take years to undo.
Okay, no, thanks for the answers. So what I'm getting from the Turk is positive focus on stats over punishing people, basically, right? To show like, hey, look, like there's value in the vaccines and to promote that over the negative discourse, if I got that right. Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, you can talk to even like RobeMan, right? You have to break it down what you're trying to say to a certain type of argument in order to actually just open the door to having the conversation. You can't just say, "Hey, here's a mandate, you got to do it." No, that's not going to be a productive conversation. You can't just say, "Hey, Turk, F off, you're wrong," and have a productive conversation with Turk. That's not how you do things. And you have to treat people with respect and kindness across the board. That's why we like consistency. Going back to the Boris thing and the Newsom thing, it's like, yes, I would if we choose to hold these elected officials to a standard, if they violate their own things. That's why I went to the law example in my intro. If he violated a law, he needs to be prosecuted. If he just violated something that's going to get him a slap on the wrist, he needs to get a slap on the wrist. We can't say my side's good. Captain A. Jones voted for the guy, so I don't care if he violates the thing. We have to be consistent. We have to do everything equally across the board. And if I would say, if we want to take this example from the EU of the orgy dude or whatever, that needs to be brought to Boris Johnson and be like, hey, dude, this guy got ejected because of doing this and violating a mandate. You did the exact same thing. You need to step down and resign. that would be a very consistent based thing for a conservative to think. You might be muted,
Yeah, it
Jones.
seems like
Oh,
RobeMan is
thanks.
like
Thank you,
going to.
Turk. I would like to
Okay,
start
sure.
though, please, because Turk I think made a decent point, and I would like to say that I think mandates are probably not the way that we should have done it. I think that we should have done more carrots, less sticks, because there's a lot of people who don't get the vaccine, and the reasoning is a little it's well, I might think it's dumb. If I talk to them, I might come away thinking that they're dumb, but you know what, if I met them in person, I would be pretty fucking compassionate, and I would be attempting to talk to them like they're a human being, not like I'm talking to RobeMan, but more like I'm
I'm
attempting to
unvaccinated,
talk.
by the way. I'm completely unvaccinated. I'm a pure blood.
Thank you.
So go ahead.
Thank you for thank you. I was more talking about people like Turk. So I think I'll give that to you, Turk. And like I also think, like, you know what, if Gavin Newsom, because it does sound like it would probably be a slap on the wrist or something. I don't know. Like,
Right.
okay, so he violated COVID
fine the
mandates. He
guy
gets a
$1 million,
$5,000 fine, or
let's fine him $1 million and move on
Yeah.
with our lives.
sure. I could actually agree with that. I could definitely agree with that. So there you go. And
I like the idea of a public flogging. That sounds like kind of interesting.
Well, there
Maybe
if
should
we're
be some
talking
strict
about a
penalty
certain
for
man in a
Democrats.
robe,
I think it should be strict to follow by, to lead by example. I think Democrats need to lead by example for penalizing their own there.
I think
I
everyone.
think
everyone
Newsom
would
should
count.
be forced to publicly sign and hand over cash to whatever winery that he displaced due to these mandates, and give the person a hug on camera, live stream it on PrimeCayes channel, and put it out on YouTube.
That would be
100%
consistent with other left rhetoric of like, oh, okay, like
Why is it
systemic
always
issues and
left and
everything.
right with you, man?
If you actually
Like-
have him account for it,
there is only
appropriately.
left and right
why
wiggle.
can't you just why can't it just be like they fucked up? Like I don't like it. Why does it always be like?
Well, that's not good enough,
left
right?
Yeah,
or the
Well,
right?
because
Like,
we don't
going back
allow
to
that.
Will's-
when someone doesn't wear a mask, they don't just say, ah, hey, like, no,
but
we have these
there's like
altercations on the
people in the
bus and
country that
everything.
just don't vote. There's people in the country that are just not that they're not Democrats and they're not Republicans. They're just upset.
Yeah, those
you
and
know?
it's a lot of those people who aren't getting fucking vaccinated too. Those are the people I'm kind of talking about. Like, I might think somebody who doesn't vote is like, why are you not voting? What in the whoa? But like, I'm going to keep that to myself ultimately,
And
and
it's
I'm
like
going to talk to them again with
like,
compassion. I'm going to try
like-
to convince them to
It's like
vote.
then maybe it's like if you trusted your government, like if your government delivered on their promises, you would listen to them when they said something.
Damn, when you say it
Uh,
like
And
that,
the Democrats would be more trustworthy if they are
Look at what the
actually,
Democrats-
taking the lead. And no, I already think so. Like they
well, it's
actually
not
do
left
have
and
to
right
bear
now.
the
It's
brunt of that
Democrats and
responsibility.
Republicans.
No, the Democrats are done in 2022. I can't wait for this fucking pendulum to swing to the other side. You guys had your fun. You've had your fuck ups. Let's get back to fucking reality, dude. I'm sick of it. It's over.
Well, the
I'm not
Democrats
as
had to stay
optimistic.
high. That's what I think. I think they had to,
Stay high.
yeah, like they have to hold themselves accountable, have to hold each other accountable on the Democrat
Oh.
side, and yeah, stay high. Yeah.
It's not gonna do anything though.
Your guys are
Like,
losing the midterms badly, too. It's going to be rough.
I mean, like, it doesn't even matter. Like the next 6 or 8 years of government, regardless of who wins any elections, it's just gonna be complete dog shit anyway.
It sounds like cope to me. That sounds like a lot of copium.
No, I mean, like, it's not though. Like like the system has been breaking down consistently since 2004. Like even in 2004, we could have seen what 2020 was going to look like, minus the COVID, obviously.
All right, I was gonna say.
Minus the COVID.
You know
But,
what? You know what? I think
but,
not only do Democrats have to stay high, I think they should also bring Republicans up with them. Like have that spirit of
They
inclusiveness
tried
they
that.
preach so much about, right?
They
I don't think they
tried
tried.
that.
No. I
Why
don't- I don't think they put in the right
do you
effort.
act like the Democrats
think
are
the
some
effort
like
shows.
being, some angelic being that is going to bring the Republicans up with them? Like,
But the
bro,
Democrats-
what are you talking about? You sound like a
they're kind of
fucking
like an
idiot.
angel. Well, they're kind of like an angel in the way that they're kind of like angels or demons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like,
Yeah.
really, it's like
What is
two
this about?
demons: the Republicans and the Democrats, the left and the right, and they're fighting, and it's just a constant struggle back and forth, and there is no middle ground.
Honestly,
okay?
eventually it's
So it's
gonna
maybe
get to
not
the
back
point
and-
I think we can
Democrats try to
humanize each other
compromise.
more.
Democrats tried to compromise during the Obama administration. You saw the Republican response. It was bad faith in nature, and then it went downhill from there, right?
The Democrats were not bad faith. They tried to impeach the president for 3 years. What are you talking about?
Yeah, because he deserved it.
Okay. So
Because he-
before that,
For a made up Russian fucking collusion thing, bro. Shut up. This is so stupid.
Let's go back to the beginning.
So fucking stupid, bro.
During the Bush administration, during the Bush administration, the Democratic Party went along with the Republican Party on the war in Iraq. I don't know if you remember this. You probably don't. But
I'm older than you, buddy. How old are you?
Also, not try. He was impeached.
I'm old
he
enough.
wasn't just tried, buddy.
Whatever.
So,
It doesn't even matter.
he was twice impeached.
Okay. It doesn't. Just shut up. My point is that the Democratic Party had been working with the Republican Party up until the Iraq War. And then in the last 2 years of the Bush administration, there was like some undermining, being like, okay, this is not working out. We don't like what's going on. George W. Bush has led us astray. And George W. Bush, at that moment in time in history, was looked at as like a really shit president. And a lot of people agreed. The Republicans that were running in 2008 were shit talking him. And he wasn't even helping people run.
Get a hide after his
Get a
presidency.
hide. That's how bad he was, right? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So then Obama gets elected, and like there's this expectation almost, the spirit of cooperation. Okay, we helped you with your guy. He fucked up. Now it's your turn to help us out. And from the very beginning, it was resist, resist, resist. Mitch McConnell was even quoted as saying, my goal is to make Barack Obama a one-term president. It wasn't, my goal is to make America a better place. It was, I want Barack Obama to be a one-term president. And as things progressed, that's not, I mean, that part didn't happen, but Barack Obama basically was unable to get any real governance done. He had to do things by executive order. He wasn't able to get any legislation passed. And then we come to 2016, where Democrats,
Affordable Care Act.
the Affordable Care Act, which was like a hot mess because Blue Dog Democrats.
Minor piece of legislation.
the stimulus
Not a
bill.
big deal.
What are you talking about, bro? You're fucking bonkers, dog.
No, I'm not bonkers. If you go to the Blue Dog Democrat website, you'll see that they take a lot of pride in watering down the Affordable Care Act. But let's not digress on the point here.
All right, go ahead.
Whatever.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna keep trucking it. Like, okay,
Let's
sorry.
listen to your campfire
apologize for
story, dude.
overstating.
Okay,
My
there will
point
always
here-
be people who take you in bad faith, right? The
Whatever.
answer isn't to just feed the trolls and
I'm
compromise on
sorry.
the
No, the
principles
point
that you're
is,
putting out.
that after 6 years, from 2010 to 2016, there's nothing but bad faith efforts on from the right wing towards Barack Obama. The Democratic Party realized that there's no way to engage in negotiations with the right. That's what the
Realize
Democratic Party learned.
no, they just also opted in for bad faith. That's what you're telling me just now.
Yes,
right.
that's exactly. what they did.
realize
Yeah.
that they're taking them in bad faith. So let's also do bad faith. Where does that get you?
So the point is, if they get into good faith, does that get them anywhere? Like, do they get anything from good faith or bad faith at this point? That's my point.
So you're telling
So
me
you
from
need to win people over by
2016
maintaining
on,
good faith.
2016 on,
saying.
all you did was try to take down the president for 3-4 years.
So I'm sorry. So you're telling me
was doing it personally.
if they maintain good faith from 2010 to 2016, that
Would have
like
been a lot better. Yeah.
they tried shit and it didn't go through.
I
Like,
think
what do
they
you mean?
failed. You say they try, I say they failed.
You're living in
that's something I'm
fantasy land,
criticizing them
dude.
for.
Eh.
I mean, you're saying that, RobeMan, but like I don't
Confirm
think
a
you've
couple
actually
different
conceptualized any of the
justices,
things
right?
I talked about. What were you saying, the Turk? Sorry.
I think a couple different justices got put onto the Supreme Court in Obama's term, right?
Yeah, two female justices.
There were
The
two,
two
and then
female
I think
justices, Amy Sotomayor
not a
and
big thing.
but
I can't
Merrick
remember Elena
Garland-
Kagan. Elena
but-
Kagan, I believe.
but Merrick Garland was denied.
It's not a big thing. Shut up, dude.
No, fuck off. No, like seriously, like the large list of Obama's accomplishments were mostly done through executive order. There were not very many legislative things accomplished. There weren't.
Except for maybe having 2 Supreme Court justices getting passed through the Senate, which had Republican.
Which
people
happened.
also
I mean,
voting
that
for it.
happens. Okay, so like
Okay.
he had 8
You're
years.
being incredibly bad faith in your.
No, I'm
own
not being bad
argument,
faith at
dude.
all. No, like you're saying that like
What
two Supreme
what did the
Court
Democrats
justices-
do when Kavanaugh was
Well,
trying to be a
well,
Supreme Court justice, huh? They just dragged him through the mud.
Stop. Turk is
You're
doing
telling
really
me-
great right now, but you just keep
That's
coming in. Not
You're
helping.
telling me
You're
they
not
got
helping.
You're telling me
that's a product of what they did to the Democrats about like
Those 2 Supreme
the-
Court
the-
justices.
the
You're telling me those two
Merrick
Supreme
Garland
Court
voted
justices
for
make
the,
up for 6 years of a lack of legislation on like I don't know what was the thing that Obama was
I'll
trying to
Google it.
Affordable Care Act. Oh, and then what about the Affordable Care Act being like deliberately undermined by the right wing and stripped of its like actual like teeth?
All Obama
the
was trying to
mandates
do
were
was
by
bomb the
all-
Middle East, dude. That's all his goal was. That's it. Drop.
I mean, look, all I'm saying is that the Democrats have learned not to trust the other party, and the Republican Party has done the same thing. And like, if you want to see like the sort of like everybody get together and take the high road like type act, I mean, everybody's gonna have to get on board with that. And there's like a distinct lack of trust that I don't
That's the
know.
that's the
Right.
we thing that's so like distant for me. Is like eventually, you know, the real political reality is that you're just not going to give a shit. Like eventually, you're not going to care about what the Democrats did to the Republicans or the Republicans did to the Democrats. You're going to care about like why you can't purchase the same things you could before. Why why things aren't working anymore. Why can't you afford a house when you're like 30 something? Those are the things that you're going to care about. And then the excuses that like Joseph Biden or whatever leader we have at that time says, you're not going to care. You're not going to care. Oh, you know, they can't get something passed because it's the Republicans or it's the Democrats. Like imagine what Joseph Biden has to say when Europe asks, "Hey, didn't you promise that there's going to be like environmental protections or measures, and you were going to be at the forefront of this?" And then he has to explain, "Oh, there's actually like this Democrat, Joe Manchin. That's the reason why I couldn't do it, even though he's on my side." You think other countries give a shit about that? No. And eventually, Americans aren't going to give a shit. The excuses of why Congress can't work are not going to matter to people who just work every day, and they don't have the excuse of saying, you know, like boss, I didn't do what you asked me. They'll go to work, they do their work, they get their paycheck, and then they find out that the people that that they put in power don't do their job. And like think about that, the idea that there's like in America we have people that sit out, that decide to just not show up, and you know, like that's considered a political strategy. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, damn. Wiggles, you said a lot of stuff. I find it hard to agree with a lot or disagree with any of the things that you just said. But I kind of want to address this whole thing that Mad Lad's talking about, and kind of that you were just saying. Like, what it ends up doing is driving people to end up being cynical as fuck, like me. Like, I vote the party line because I'm cynical as fuck. Because if I lived anywhere else, I would do the same exact thing for the same exact reason. Like, I don't. I think that the Democrats being marginally better than the Republicans is good enough. Unfortunately, that's how cynical I have become due to like a lot of the I don't know if it's necessarily due to like people on the right like making fun of people on the left. I just think that I vehemently disagree with a lot of the extreme things on the right, especially when it comes to social policies, immigration, or although people fucking Obama was the deporter in chief, and Biden's also doing not great policies on the border. So
Yeah, it was like Donald Trump said. You know, he said, "Who built the
but
cages, Joe?" Remember?
but
And they laughed.
well,
They
that wasn't
vilified Donald
that
Trump.
was definitely just
They
that was definitely
vilified,
just not true. That was
but they
that
vilified Donald
was
Trump. They vilified on the border. They said this was disgusting. How could you? And then you
s-
know, a few months later, you know, we see the same instance. We see some of these facilities opened up
for way
again.
different reasons though. For way different reasons though, and most of those facilities are shut down. We're not holding children in containment anymore like we were
But
under
did they give
Trump.
the but
There's
did they
so
give the
so so
same
but
did
my
they give the
point.
same allowances when the Trump administration was explaining themselves? So then how can you allow how can you expect conservatives to sit there and listen to the reasonings, even if they are better, that liberals give, if they didn't even listen to the reasonings that the previous administration
So
gave?
I'll give you that because my only point was to say that I still think that that marginal difference, you know, even if um even if I'll grant you everything you just said, um, I still think the marginal difference of of having it just a little bit better under Biden is worth it, and it's worth me towing the party line until I see
And how
some type of
how
third party
sad that is.
candidate.
Think about
Well,
that. As
and
a
it's not even a third
Californian,
party because it
as
has to be someone within the
the
Democratic Party.
but
It has
think
to be
about that.
just
As a
like oh,
Californian
it
that
is
votes
sad, but
D along
it's
the
where we
line,
live in.
this is like you are the quintessential Democrat. And
I
this
am.
is your calling cry in 2024 to vote for Biden. It's like it's a little bit better. All right, guys. Like we built back a little bit better. All right, like please,
Check me
this
out.
is
Quintessential Democrat, baby.
Put it on a
this is what
shirt.
we're supposed to rely on. Like this is the Democrat. Like why prop them up? Why continue to prop up the Democrats that way? Why not do like the Republicans did, the people that are upset and the newer voters when they decided to buck that shit and then go for Donald Trump? Why not buck the Joe Biden and then say, damn it, I'm just upset that we have Joe Biden and not somebody else.
That's a really good question. I
Well-
to answer it, were you here the other day where we were talking about how Republicans don't do as well at fighting the extreme elements of their party as the left wing or the Democrats do in this country? Basically, if
No, I wasn't there.
okay, my bad then. Well, okay, just to
Well, you can continue
briefly
if you
go
want.
over it though. Basically, it's my belief that the Republicans are like they're fuck. I'm kind of losing my train of thought, but like it, they're so bad faith that like I don't know. I don't know.
What do you expect like these Republican individuals to do when like Donald Trump is so fiercely popular compared to like George W. Bush? Like the Democrats have Obama. Like Obama just like jumps off of like Mount Olympus and then calls a bunch of people during like the Democratic like primaries, and then he's a kingmaker. Like he would have won. He's the one who won in 2020. It's not Joe Biden. The Joe Biden won because people wanted Obama and they didn't want Trump. And then he wants everybody to believe in what Build Back Better and his agenda. Who gives a shit about Joe Biden's agenda? They just didn't want Donald Trump's agenda, and they just want, the remembrance of like Obama. And so
Oh
it's like
boy, God
they
damn it,
have this
Wiggles!
power.
Stop being so base though, bro. Because
You
this is
have this
not
power
cool.
of having this guy who at any time can just come in and make a few phone calls, and he's one of the most popular people in the entire country. What do the Republicans have if that person is the individual they're trying to steer from? If that individual, the popular individual, is Donald Trump, who can they call? Like, are they gonna get up like literally like George W. Bush is gonna start making calls and appearances? Nobody's gonna give a shit because he's not as popular as
Nobody is
Donald
as
Trump.
popular as Donald Trump,
The
and
Joe
on the left wing, we have
Obama
nothing.
could get up right now and say that both these people are idiots. Don't vote for them. Vote for I don't know. Vote for my left nut, and then people will start chanting for that, and Democrats will be like, "I never liked Biden. I
Vote
never
for
really liked him."
I would vote for Obama in a heartbeat for a third term. Oh my God, that would be
That's sad. That's sad. But
amazing.
I can see the
I
desperation.
would
I
jump
can see
for joy.
I can
Rob,
see
you
the
can call me a
desperation.
cuck, a left wing cuck. This is where you come in. This is your entrance.
Quintessential Democrat. I want the shirt,
Quint-
man. I want to
I
see
gotta,
that on
I
the
gotta
shirt,
make
guys.
that.
Captain A. Jones, earlier you were saying more carrots, less sticks, right? I think that was you.
That was me. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree. When there's too much bad faith, we get apathy. We shouldn't all be so apathetic that we then question, well, hey, if you're still voting Democrat, well, why are you voting Democrat? You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna vote Democrat anyway, why not focus on the positive? So, when I've talked to people who were vaccine hesitant, I would emphasize positives. I would say, okay, so like Trump supports Pfizer vaccine, appealing to family ties, respect for elders, stuff like that, that conservatives tend to value more, and practicing what you preach is a way to build trust. So if I'm wearing a mask, I'm going to wear it consistently when I go out. And I think conservative cultural people respond to that more. And I think, like the Turk was saying, having those conversations and easing up on the negative framing, I think is the way forward for that.
Or
Yeah, I
another
mean,
good thing would be to like you mentioned wearing masks in public. Maybe some group of people need to condemn Joe Biden for whenever he's going into a press area, like not behind a podium or whatever, instead of like going and taking his mask off with it when he's within arm's reach of other people, maybe he should keep wearing his mask like we've
Yeah,
been told to the past 2 years. We need
I
someone
agree. Yeah.
to defame Biden for that. He's not following CDC guidance when he does it.
I agree. I agree with that. Being, holding his feet to the fire, as, people might say.
It's called accountability. And unfortunately, no one is willing to hold themselves to account, and their communities are not willing to hold their elected officials to account. That's on both sides.
So I think that's um, how do you suppose the Turk and RobeMan's gone, but I guess I'm curious from him as well. How would you suppose for conservatives to be convinced that someone has their feet held to the fire, right? Like if we agree on that, what would you think would be convincing?
So one thing that the conservatives have done, especially in the House, is they've stripped some of their congressional members of their uh, places on not cabinets, but in groups or whatever, right? And that's a good way of saying, hey, you're going to say stupid stuff. We're not going to have you on our, organizations. And, I know a lot of other people have been saying, like Marjorie Taylor Greene. No, it was the guy that made like the anime video of Attack on Titan or whatever. Like he got attacked from both the Democrat and he was admonished by the conservative side. So it's like the conservatives can do it and we should do it more. And I wish that we would also hold other people accountable on the other side of the aisle.
All right. I think that sounds pretty good, and I think I think if we see more of Democrats doing that, I think that would give Democrats themselves more ground to pressure Republicans to do the same for holding, their constituents' feet to the fire.
Yeah,
It's
I've
like when
I've been
they
on I've been on PrimeCayes panels where we talk about anti-Semitism and all that stuff, and it's like
yeah.
the Democratic Jewish caucus sent a letter to I'm blanking out on names, not Rashida Tlaib, but the Ilan Omar, saying that some of her remarks on Twitter were bad and whatever. It's like she's received 2 or 3 of those types of admonishments from her own party. She needs to be stripped of similar things similar to the MGT or the other things. It's like she says some pretty bad stuff, and I think it would be good faith to hold account to that and to apply that account equally.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that gives, like I was touching on, like it gives Democrats strength there. They can say, "Look, we did that.
No
We
one's going to hold the squad to account in that effect.
I mean, did
yeah."
it actually do anything when the Democrats held like Al Franken to the fire when he was nailed for sexual assault? Like, did
He
any
immediately he
Republican?
dropped it. He dropped.
So he was gone, right? And then there was
Yeah.
like a list of Republican senators or presidents who had done some very similar things who were not held accountable. So I'm really wondering, I'm questioning this line of rationale where you hold
Because you have bad
Democrats
faith.
accountable. Well, no, I'm just
That's because
saying, like,
you're seeing some bad faith and you're answering with more bad faith. I'm saying keep the good faith.
I mean, my point is, will the good faith produce anything besides?
I believe it will.
Of
I mean, you
course.
believe it will, but
Of
like, there's
course.
no like historical evidence or any like. It's just, oh hey, maybe.
Well, we have evidence that continuing on
like-
bad faith is going to produce bad results, right? So
Look
I'm
at where
saying,
we're at
hey,
now.
How about
I
some
mean,
good faith?
the bad faith is like. I mean, I think the results are going to be.
Bad faith is
similar
cool
either
and so
way.
seductive and edgy.
No, I mean, I'm not saying that bad faith is cool or good, right? Like, that's not my point. My point is that Democrats have no reason to believe that their good faith efforts would be rewarded in any way, because when they've demonstrated good faith efforts, all that's happened is that they've been like, you need to find a way of somehow building trust, and you haven't given like yes, good faith is good, but like how do you build the faith?
Well, it kind of takes putting the best foot forward, right? So, like,
Jones, you're
okay,
muted.
if I meet with the Turk and we're both holding guns, right? If I lay down my gun in front of me, right, that's a show of good faith. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna trust. I'm taking that step forward that you're not gonna shoot me. That's
Okay.
something I think cultural conservatives can more intuitively follow on, and you
So
need to lead by example in something like that.
so Democrats do that, and
I don't think they do it enough. Clearly,
so why is it the Democratic Party's responsibility to do it? By the way, just out of curiosity.
Why is it the
Well, because
Republicans'
you're-
responsibility?
Hold on, just by their own.
I'm just asking Squan.
as
I'm
a-
asking
okay,
you, Robe.
look, as a matter of accountability, I'll go right back to Kamala Harris, right? So, really, like you're vice president, and you're saying I wouldn't trust a sitting president saying, "Hey, you can trust this vaccine," right? I think that's super boneheaded. I think that's absolutely bad.
I mean, okay, that's fine. So you gave me an example of a Democrat acting in poor
Yeah.
faith. Great,
Yeah.
but like, I guess my question is like we've got like a list of examples of like both parties acting in bad faith, and you're like,
But I
trying
think
to
that's an egregious example. I think that's a really
yeah,
bad
it
example.
is, and
Yeah.
I would say actually that Donald Trump like embracing vaccines was actually a really nice thing to see,
I
right?
think
Like that was cool.
I've got an example.
Hmm.
So a bad faith thing would be AOC saying, condemning people that don't wear masks. They're being bad and they should be following CDC guidance. Then going to Florida and doing what she did, and then her response back to that was, "Oh, Republicans are just afraid. They're mad because they want to date me." That's stupid. She needs to own up and be like, "Yeah, I made the wrong call. I should have done something else," and actually show a good faith response. Not, "Oh, the Republicans just want to
You're
date."
right,
That's
because
stupid.
like both of these things are
Yeah,
true,
yeah.
but there needs to be a correlative link, you know.
Once
And the
once you tackle
problem,
that, you have to make a good effort to tackle all those, and then you can actually have moral ground to stand on.
I mean,
for,
like,
so
and
so
again,
and also
like I
and
see
also
all these bad faith
if
things
we're
that leftists
if
do or liberals do or whatever. That's fine, and I mean, we can come up with like a list of everybody doing bad faith
Just
things.
just
And at the end of the
pass.
day, I'm just really curious, like Squan, you're targeting Democrats
Squan.
for. Sorry, I'm not gonna. I have a hard time with your name. I'm gonna really, really try.
It's okay.
But like, I guess like my question is like you're honing in on like Democrats, like the take the high road stuff, I guess. And I'm just really curious. Like, are you suggesting that Democrats are more likely to take the high road here? Is that like your point? Like, why is
I
it that
say
you're
that they should, and it's more important for them to. That's what I've been saying.
okay?
Or
So
do you
like,
want to?
so the reason why it's more important for Democrats to do it is because Democrats have like positions that it would be
The
more.
Democrats are politically weak. They usually do take this high road, and that's where they are. That's why Joe Biden's the way he is right now, and that's why they don't deliver. Is because
Say like they do take
um
this high road.
Well, especially if you're arguing for
so
something,
just
right? So
expect
if I say, if I, like I said before, if I say, like if I tell you to do something, or if I want to put something forward, I ought to be proactive in demonstrating, that I'm holding myself accountable for that. Like I said with the Turk, he has a gun, I have a gun. I ought to lay, if I want us to lay our arms down, I laid my gun down first.
I think the Brielle equivalent though is I think what Mad Lad probably wants to see is he wants to see you condemn Republicans with at least the same amount of weight that you're
Condemn.
condemning
I
the
just really want to
Democrats.
see. I know. I just want to see like
Mad
what
Lad.
path Republicans would take to demonstrate good faith.
So,
Well,
your
well, but so Mad Lad, you're looking at this from like this very eagle-eyed view. If you think about this though on the microcosm of this conversation between everyone, if we can't come to I've liked a lot of what the Turk has said because it's trying to bridge a gap, even though we both know we're on the other side of that bridge, and we're on the other side of that gap. So like, and I think like if we can meet them halfway with that, because like so far I've heard the Turk also admonish. I don't know anything about Squad. I'm going to be honest. I don't know. This is the first time I've seen you. I don't know nothing about you. I've judged you already, though.
well,
I'm
he's
just not going to
culturally
tell you.
conservative, like that's
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know, man.
no,
This guy
he's
sounds like
culturally progressive. That's what he said in the intro.
oh.
yeah. He sounds like an individual. You know what I mean? Like a person with his own thoughts and ideas. I know that's.
I get
fucking
your
crazy.
sentiment is that we like it's like meet the halfway. I think like importantly it's like stop lying.
Same with Wiggle. Same with you, Wiggle. Like I think we've
thank
disagreed.
you, but it's like I think it's like just stop lying. Stop telling us that like you can't pass something. It's not. It's unpassable. It's the Republicans. You can't pass it. Like we understand. Like the Republicans, they're gonna give you a really hard time. They don't want you to pass this. They're gonna give you trouble. But why do we need Build Back Better? Why? Why do we need these specific bills? It seemed more like Joe Biden needs this.
We
It
should have
seems
gotten
like he wants
$12 an
more.
hour.
So it's
minimum
like
wage.
it feels like you can offer something that
No,
Republicans would take.
the more
And
important question is why are two people on the Democratic side of the aisle not going along with this party line vote? There's probably other senators on this same aisle that are not really wanting to follow with this. No one's openly admitted to it. Similar arguments can be said about changing Senate rules in regards to the filibuster. There are many people that are Democrat that aren't lining up with a lot of these. I I don't want to call them mainstream policies, but they're trying to be sold as mainstream policies. And there are plenty of Democrats that don't agree with these policies, the way they are being presented as bills.
I mean, this is like pretty hypothetical, though, right? Like, how many
No, it's not
Republicans are? Well, no,
hypothetical.
I mean,
It's
but
in your
like,
face
how
right
many
now, dude.
Republicans are? Well, like, how many Republicans are just going along with their faction and like going against this bill, even though they might like.
Yeah,
How
sympathize
many
with it?
you have to offer
Republicans- no, no, no,
something.
That was to me. How many
Okay.
Republicans voted on the House to actually do the January 6th investigation thing? There was
It
a
was
good
like, what,
chunk of them.
There was a handful. There was a
There was a
handful.
good
I don't.
chunk of them.
I don't remember. It was like, I didn't think it was a lot though. It wasn't like just 10.
There was a good chunk of them.
10 out of like 40, 50. Was that what it was? I don't remember the numbers now. Or no, hundreds. There's hundreds of Republicans in the House right now.
So 10%.
Like 10%, which is
So
like
maybe 10% of Senate Democrats don't agree with some of the stuff that what's being sold as mainstream don't agree with.
okay. Well, I mean, like, I don't know, but like, I'm just kind of wondering, like, so like, if we guess that there's some Democrats who aren't on board with this, and then we would also have to guess how many Republicans are actually on board with this and rejecting it out of turn, right? Like, if we're following this logical like pathway.
Well, there's plenty of stuff in the Build Back Better bill that does not line up with the majority of the conservative plank of the Republican Party. So you'd be talking like one, maybe two.
Maybe. I mean, it's possible, I guess. I'm just saying, like, we're kind of getting into like sort of like this fictionalized account of like what is.
But
I mean,
so
he's
let's bring this.
exposing like you can speak for yourself.
Yeah, so pulling it back to get out of the hypothetical, right? According to mainstream talking points, there's a minority of people in the Senate that are preventing different bills from getting passed. It's the two, right? No,
That's the rhetoric.
It's the majority of the Senate is preventing this bill from being passed. So y'all are not y'all. The mainstream people or media are trying to frame this in a way that demonizes these two people because they don't agree with what they're trying to sell. That's a bad thing. Going back to what Ron was saying, that is not good faith. That is not a good account of trying to have a conversation and actually get things passed.
I actually, unfortunately, I completely agree with that. If it wasn't Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, it'd be two other motherfuckers. For sure. And that's really unfortunate for the Democratic Party because we're not unified in the slightest. And I think it kind of maybe possibly goes back again to like the conversation I was having previously on a different panel. Like, I think that the Republicans are the Democrats, like they they have a really hard time. Oh, fuck it. I forgot my fucking.
The Democratic ideology is too
I can
large.
feed off of this. So if you were to go to a if you can go into a green energy discussion with Republicans, if you just try to outright sell Green New Deal as it stands, no one's going to support it because there's a bunch of social stuff in there that doesn't actually deal with green energy. But if you go into a conversation with Republicans and say, hey, we want to start funding and accelerating our use of nuclear energy, guess how many Republicans probably would go on with that? A large proportion. So you demonize people because you don't like the Green New Deal, yet there's things inside of it that are good and could be sold to a large proportion of the American public. You're not choosing to fight that fight. You're choosing to fight this other ideal. And that ideal is not popular with people you're trying to get agreement with.
Yeah, okay.
I think Democrats are really bad at selling anything.
So 100%. I think that Democrats are better at pushing back against the extreme wing of their party, though. Like, what would the Democrats do really well is infight. Oh, we infight.
Well, I mean,
it's easy when the extreme wing of your party is like, once again, like 4 people. like the Democratic ideology is so like it's so vast, and they take credit for everything. So it's like what like, and we have to like I learned this year that we have conservative Democrats. Like we have conservative Democrats. Like that's crazy. And then you have like the progressives.
You didn't know that? They were called blue dogs, bro.
They've been blue dogs for a long time.
Yeah, these are blue dogs. This is a thing that exists.
I don't care if it's red dogs or yellow dogs or what have you. It's like it's kind of interesting that you have so many people that are like Democrats, and then they get so much credit. Like you have the Democrats fighting against each other, and then they take the credit no matter what gets passed. Like you have people like AOC in the same party as like individuals like you're talking about cinema, etc. It's like,
Nothing
and
good
then
about that,
they
though.
don't
Like,
advocate for the same things at all. They don't believe the same things. Yet if one passes something, both get credit. Like that's kind of weird. And so it makes sense that like you would be for like a pushing of like supporting third parties if you live in California or like New York, etc. Then allowing this two-party system where one whole party can have so many different ideologies and then claim that everything is Democrat.
well,
Like
I mean,
claim.
no, I mean like the Democratic Party is a coalition, right? Like it's just a coalition of like every faction that's like not the Republican Party.
All fighting the locust. Yeah.
And I mean, the
Yeah.
thing is, though, like the left has been this, and like it's not just in the United States. This is everywhere, right? Like there's this level of fighting in like just any country.
Yeah, but other countries
So
they
it-
have multiple parties. So like
some
they
other
do
countries
more.
have multiple parties, and they have to form coalitions between like different groups of
Yeah,
parties.
and I
Absolutely.
feel like
Sure.
that's more it's more efficacious. You get to see
That
like
is-
a
that would
branching
be
out of
better.
ideas. Yeah.
I agree with that for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
would-
think again, this goes to the fact that because like, and also, what is extreme on the left? Extreme on the left is you want to feed everybody, you want to fucking house everybody, you want a hippy dippy world where everything's
You want to
fucking
raise
sunshine and
taxes
roses.
without it. Extreme on the left,
Raise taxes
in a
on rich
liberal
people,
in
or
a
or even
liberal
just
world, extreme on the left is like raising taxes without explaining like, exactly where the money's going. That seems to be like where America is right now. Is that like it's extreme to say I want to raise taxes and not explicitly say like where the money is going. And that's because it's not really like it's not that left. It's like liberals versus like conservatives.
oh, totally, oh, totally. It's liberals and not progressives for sure.
I think the bigger fight is not necessarily the extreme wings of each party. I think it's going to be more of the center needs to come to an agreement that I am center right. You guys might think of me as this far right dude, but I can agree with someone that's more liberal, not necessarily progressive, but someone that is talking about you know limited amnesty, right? And we talked about this on a different panel. I forget which one, but it's like, yes, as a conservative, I can have compassion towards people, but there can be also terms towards the amnesty that many center right probably could agree with, and that kind of legislation can be passed. So I think the center and the more I wouldn't say normal, but maybe the more responsible people should start to make this more center moderate party, and that needs to kick the far left and the far right out. Granted, the far right is stupid, and you guys like to hop on it so much; it drives me nuts.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
make
like,
it so
so the
easy.
Turk,
Make it so easy. But
The
so
far
the
right,
Turk,
like you said, is like four people, right? It's only four.
no, the far left, the far right is like larger than that. But at the same
the far
time,
right, I think, has taken over the Republican Party in
yeah.
general. That's
And that's
that,
your
and that would be
perspective.
my
That's your
pushback
perspective.
ultimately
Yeah.
to you. Would be
Mhm.
like,
Well,
I
that's your
think,
perspective. You think all the far right is this evil, bad boogie guy, right? The far right is a very minuscule part of the Republican Party. Yes, they have their representatives, as do progressives and other people on the left, but they aren't the ones that are actually driving conservative types of legislation. That they're just there causing hell. Whereas on the other side, you have people that are far left driving progressive policies that don't necessarily line up with the chunk of the Democrats. The
I could,
far left has much more influence on policy positions than the far right does.
yeah, I could kind of see what you're saying, and I mean,
I think the left in general does, right? Because the left
yeah, I
wields
definitely
big power.
vilified
Left, far
Trump.
left, semantics, whatever.
Um, but even then, yeah, I agree with you. Like, there's bills that you could pass that you could just give credit to Republicans. Who cares if it's something that the people want? It's something that the Republicans are not going to give up on. They're not going to say no as long as they get credit because they're going to utilize that in 2024. And then the Democrats, it's currently a Democratic president, so he's going to utilize it. It's just find some things that both that the Republicans can't say no to that they want, and just pass some Republican bills. Like, is that so crazy to be a Democrat and pass like bills that Republicans want? The very few they want like what like four different things, and the Democrats want like a whole dresser full. And then like if Republicans
Uh,
get some credit for it, it's like who cares? At the end of the
So
day, it's about the constituents and what they want. You know,
So I'm curious. Just this is off topic completely for today's panel, but do y'all think Ted Cruz is far right?
I think Ted Cruz
What do
is
you mean?
whatever keeps him elected.
What do you mean
Um,
by far right? Define
I
far
think
right.
he's tied to an
Yeah, I think I would
ideology.
I don't care
define
about
far
your
right as a
answers, Robe.
Trumper.
I want to see the left's perspective on a couple different prominent Republican people.
I
Hey,
do
by
represent all of
default,
the left.
okay, I mean, like
But
off the
essentially,
top of my head, I would say like Ted Cruz would be considered. Wait, do you say far right or just like
so there's far right,
yeah?
right, and then center right.
I would say he was right.
I'll bite. He's far right.
I'd say he's right as well. I think like he
I
just
would say he's
capitulates.
right as
to,
well, but I want
he,
him to bite.
I think he capitulates to like what's the most popular thing. So like if the most popular thing is MAGA, then he's gonna be MAGA.
You know what?
and
I
he's
think I think I see
Yeah.
ultimately what you're saying, the Turk. You're saying the entire Republican Party is like that. And really, once Trump is out, they can finally go back to being Republicans instead of this
There is a
party that
much-
has to get behind Trump
there
and
are
whatever the
many
fuck he
better
says.
people than Trump that is out there. I think Trump got like propelled forward because it's a meme, and that's not a great way to drive a political plank.
Well, he's a populist, so
Yeah,
that's
Ron DeSantis is a good example. I think there was another Republican, the female, she worked at HP. She was a good one as well. And then there's also other people on the right that are up and coming that would be great leaders of a nation. It's just unfortunate that the media complex that we have says, "Oh, this person's not good. Oh, this person's not good. We're not going to put them on any airtime anywhere." That's unfortunate, and that's just the way the world works.
Well, first of all, I will be goddamned if I ever see a Canadian Ted Cruz become president. So abso-fucking-lutely not. And
I need
second, no,
birth
I'm just kidding.
certificate,
I'm just
birther movement. Here we go.
but I would like to point this out though. That I generally kind of agree with what you just said. Although I would like to push back and just say that, people like Ted Cruz were kind of birthed out of the Tea Party movement. And I think like, especially old people like me, we remember this one. So I guess like, in a way, like I guess I used to consider them far right, and now I look at them and I'm like, well, fuck, they're on the right. But is that just because? Is this what they call the Overton window? I've
what you
never
call a
looked at that.
career politician.
Windows
Basically.
is what that is like this thing that was recently created for that. But like I would say that it's there's like a variety of Overton windows, and so like I've actually talked to people who suggested that the country has gotten more liberal overall because like social issues have been addressed like gay marriage and trans rights stuff, right? But like in reality, on the social issues, sure, we've kind of leaned into the left, but on like economics and like on terms of like government policy, we are like veering hard to the right as a society. A lot of like this concept of like the economy and capitalism kind of being the means of achieving all our aims is definitely more right wing than left wing.
So I'm trying to find this. Maybe someone in chat can find it. But what you just said is actually not backed by data that's proposed by mainstream media. Mainstream media is saying that we are becoming more conservative in what we're actually talking for in uh, the Congress, and I just want to find that and show it to you.
Well, yeah, so
one of
mainstream
those-
media
one
is
of those
gonna-
bar
oh.
charts, right? That's like this is the center. It's becoming more red, and that instantly means that we're becoming more conservative. But what you just said proves that that graph is bullshit.
I mean, yeah, I would definitely agree that graph is bullshit. Like that graph is only relevant in terms of talking about economic policy and general government policy, not like rights. That being said, and as much as like I value the rights of everyone in this country, the issues that have been at the forefront for me have been those economic and government issues. Like I'm really disturbed by the fact that our government is mostly managed through, or like a lot of our government activities are done through contractors. Like, I think that makes the government incredibly inefficient. So like when we're talking about government inefficiencies, I feel like what is like literally happening is that we are being kind of, I don't want to say sabotage because that has like a lot of negative connotation, but like there's a lot of policies being passed to like strip government of its bureaucracy introducing contractors to replace that bureaucracy, and then pointing at the government and saying, "Ah, yes, that's inefficient. See how inefficient that is?" When like it didn't have to be like that. Like we could have had the bureaucracy we had before. We could have kept that bureaucracy robust, and the government would be more efficient. It's like going to a grocery store, firing like all the cashiers but one, and then complaining about the grocery store being inefficient.
I don't think I agree with that conclusion. I mean, you're basically saying let's just have more bureaucracy or not. I mean,
Well, bureaucracy has
uh,
like a lot of negative connotations attached to it. Like you say, "Oh,
sure.
yeah,
So does big government and big business and everything, right?
sure,
Like,
right."
I mean,
So, like, my point is that like you need to have a fairly hefty bureaucracy to manage a hefty amount of things. Like the government's huge because we have a lot of land, we have a lot of people, we have a lot of things. Like the IRS is like starting to.
I think that's an assumption you're making there,
Yeah,
right?
oh,
Like, I
no,
mean, like, why not
no,
defer? I mean, I'm sure.
actually
I'm
give you,
sure.
I'm gonna give you a specific example. Actually, the IRS right now is having a very hard time processing taxes. Last year, people weren't getting their taxes months after they filed. Some people haven't even gotten their taxes yet, and this year is looking to be even worse. And we did contract out a lot of the labor. We use businesses like TurboTax to like set things up for the IRS when it doesn't actually need to be that way. Our tax code shouldn't require some company selling products to the entire country to file this required thing. Like this is where big government and big
That sounds like I think you're gonna take us into another rabbit hole with that. I want to be careful about that
I was
because you
about
can
to
get into
say,
the weeds. I think you can get into the weeds over what was
everyone
holding
hates
up
the
that
tax code.
yeah, what was holding up the company from like processing things faster? Could they blame COVID? Like whatever. I don't really like going down that line. And you're just gonna have us being split on small government versus big government on that. So I don't think
All these
we should
rabbit
go
holes
into
are
that.
so entertaining though. Like I enjoy
I
them.
mean, and I think
Feels
and
like
I
we
think the rabbit
beat
holes
the COVID thing
are
down. Like
well, okay. So I think the rabbit holes are actually like relevant in terms of determining kind of what our problem with COVID is.
Well, you
Like,
would say that because you're making the rabbit holes.
I mean, I guess that's
follow along.
fair, but like, why?
That's
I
very
guess I
fair
wouldn't.
for me to
I wouldn't
criticize you
make.
on that.
I mean, I guess that's fair, but like, I also wouldn't make the rabbit hole to begin with unless I thought it was related to our COVID response. Does that make sense? Like, I think our COVID response was like very, very diffused because we relied on not just a variety of different government rules, like each state government had their own implementation process, but then we also, again, use private contractors to do a lot of the work. And and this is where, like, I would say a lot of these bills that are being passed have government spending waste because contractors again will just spend money up until they will purposely spend extra money to make sure they use the full budget they're allotted so they can get that budget again each time they ask for it, right? So I think there's like something very important to be said for what could have been if we had an actual robust government bureaucracy that was actually handling the COVID management.
I mean,
not
we
gonna
can
fuck too, right?
we can
That
argue
shit
that
hit
just
in
the
spring.
contractors can compete with each other over who's gonna, show. You can just say, hey, let's just have more legislation for them to show receipts and prove that they're spending the money more efficiently.
Okay,
I
show
don't
receipts,
think
and
that.
then who's gonna count the receipts? Are we gonna hire a contractor to do it, or are we gonna have a bureaucracy to count the receipts to make sure that we're spending money?
Well, you can have less bureaucracy, to count the receipts. I mean, that's all the bureaucracy would be doing, right? You're still going to have smaller government. Whereas you're saying, hey, let's just throw it all out and just like have it be big government.
You'd have smaller government, but you wouldn't really have smaller government because you'd be taking all that money and paying
It would
contractors.
still be smaller than what you're saying, which is just like, throw out the contractors and go big, right?
Well, no, I'm not saying throw out all the contractors. I'm saying that we have too many government contractors and not enough bureaucracy, and we should bring back bureaucracy.
How many contractors do you want?
I mean, like that, and then we'd have to figure it out.
I'm all
And
for having a larger government.
And I will actually give you a very fantastic example, historically, of the difference between the U.S. government now and the U.S. government, say, like 60 years ago. Let's talk about
I'll bite to say that when it comes to allocating capital for where resources should go for staffing for COVID relief and things like that. I think we can put more trust in contractors. We could do that. I think there's a case you can make for that.
Wait, more trust in contractors?
Yeah, like, and have them compete, like, just like have the private sector deal with, some of these government problems, right? I mean, I
That's
don't
what we've
that's
been
why I say I
doing.
don't think this is a good road to go down.
No, I mean,
So-
I'm saying that's what we've
Well,
been doing, and that's where things have gone horribly wrong.
yeah,
Like, I'm just gonna give my quick
so-
example real quick, and then I'll move on. Like, I'll let you guys get into it.
Uh,
This is a rabbit hole. Apologies, but like, let's look at like nation building, like how good America has been at nation building. Like, let's go back like 70 years when we rebuilt like what was it like Germany, Japan, South Korea using good old fashioned American bureaucracy, and then let's look at what we did in Iraq and Afghanistan, relying on private contractors to do the same work. We actually were able to rebuild war-torn nations with relative ease using our bureaucracy, and we had a very, very hard time rebuilding these nations in a cohesive
Bro,
manner.
you're using the worst example though. Like I
Why am I
agree
using
with
the worst
that
example?
example. That's
Okay.
definitely a good example of what you're talking about. I'll give you that. And it's like the worst of the I'll give you that too. It's pretty extreme, you know what I'm saying? But like so like a lot of what from what my basic understanding of, because I've heard of this on Bloomberg and passing New York, whatever the fuck I'm reading, or like this is like a lot of the reason that we're using a lot of the reason that everyone's using contractors. They're using these labor contractors because it's so fucking hard to get labor. It's been so hard to get labor for the last 2 years. So I don't know how long this problem is. This like he's probably talking about this is like a over the course of our entire lives kind of thing. But I
40
think
years at least.
40 years, yeah. But I think
least.
especially recently in the last 2 years, we do have to give the government a little bit of a break on it because like it's so hard to get labor at the moment that like we need to contract out whatever we just need to get the goddamn labor done.
Why do we like why do we give the government a break? Like from my perspective, like the government can supply things at a loss. Like why should like if they
That's
need if they
so
need
No,
if they
I,
need
I think it
labor-
means that like the government would be biting off more than they can chew, so you have to ease that pressure on government, like just from a pragmatic point of view.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, the you don't want the government falling over under the weight of the task that it's like it could just outsource to the private sector.
That's
and
kinda
it's really
interesting,
it's
guys.
even
Why?
less it's even just more basic than that. A lot of times the reason that you would contract out is because it would just take you way more effort to like build up that
Yes.
kind of infrastructure or like labor power to do like possibly a task that you're not going to do again that some
I mean,
private contractor might be specialized in and
I
might be
agree
able to
with
just
you.
do way more
Yeah.
efficiently.
what I would do, what I would say, there's two ways I would address this problem, right? I think you do have to rely on private contractors to make up the difference, and then you also need to hire a bureaucracy, and then you'd have to probably like train the have the private contractors train the bureaucracy on how to do these things, right? On some level, or maybe even buy the private contractors outright and have them.
That's a hard sell. How are you gonna do that? How are you gonna get like private companies to train the
Yeah,
government?
I know. It's like a hot
like,
mess, right?
when,
Like
when
this
they'd
is not
rather
But
sell
again,
the
I don't know
service, I
but why
guess.
would
it's
they
problem solved.
but why
Sell
would
the
they do that
service of
for
training?
and also, why
It's
would
not
they
a
do
good
that for
problem.
possibly a task that they're not going to be doing over and over again, where it's just easier in even the long run to contract out to a company to do like a specific task? I don't know. Yeah,
Y'all are such
I
capitalists.
guess I'm more liberal. You know what I mean? I'm not so opposed to contractors. I'm opposed to contractors. You know what I'm opposed to? I'm opposed to when oil companies contract out their fucking wells, and then that well has a spill, and then it's the contracted company that gets sued rather than the big company that owns or that doesn't own the
Like the
contracted
chain
well.
of accountability.
Because the
Like
Yeah.
contract is the
ownership.
one executing the well. That's why
That's a
they're
problem.
liable.
And that's like
I just want
across industry.
I just
So
want the government to get credit when it's due. From my perspective, it's like when the private sector fails on providing something, they don't have to take this. They don't have to take this fall. They don't have to deal with anything. When the government does something incorrectly, it's always their fault. In this situation, right? Like for example, like something like healthcare, right? You'd think privy like the private sector is like what's supplying a lot of workers, subsidized plans for the healthcare, what have you. But then there's problems with that. We're having problems with the system, and this isn't being solved by the private sector. And then the problem can't be put on the government because why? The government's inefficient. The government doesn't work. It feels like we're always locked in the struggle of the government is just never the answer, and the private sector has the ability to fail us. And when the private sector succeeds, they get amazing credit. They get all of the credit, and all the responsibility makes sense all of a sudden. I think like
You know why, right?
there's too many hands, privatized hands that are in our government.
You want to know why? It's because the government ain't got a PR team. They
The
don't have a
United
fucking
States,
marketing team.
the
That's what.
United States government is the biggest marketing, the biggest PR machine in the entire world.
That's what
The
we'd
whole
like to.
world, the whole world views America in a specific way because the American government is a PR machine.
They get
I
they got
think
they
it's
got
all. I think it's
propaganda,
a big.
baby.
I think it's
There
a
are a lot of
big.
criticism against America
People are
I think
like,
it has
internationally.
a lot to do with American corporations.
yeah, well,
as well.
The United States goes to war, and the own people in the United States don't know anything about the country, don't know anything at all.
Do you know what the
And
number
they
one
still
most?
fly the flag of the United States. If that's not PR, what is?
Do you know what the number one most recognized word worldwide is?
What,
Texas.
freedom?
Coca-Cola.
I don't know.
Coca-Cola.
Texas.
It's Coca-Cola.
It's Texas.
Would be wait.
Fuck out
Um,
But it makes
no,
sense
no, the
because
US
Coca-Cola is literally everywhere. It's literally
Oh.
everywhere. And that's like that's what I guess what I'm trying to say is I guess like I would just push back a little bit and say I think that American corporations are possibly, if not at the same level of influence, especially in the last 30 to 40 years. I think like if you're talking outside of that time frame, you could easily point at like what we did in South Korea, etc. World War II. These are huge. I think that's different. So I'll give you that. But like I think recently, I would tend to say that American corporations have far more influence culturally on other countries than like or at least the same amount as the government does.
I just want to touch on what Wigless was saying. When the private sector fails, they do take losses. It's just more individualized, like between companies that are, and their victories are celebrated more individualized. Like the private sector isn't a monolith, whereas the government more so is.
It's,
Yeah. So that
government
always sets up
is-
a failure system, right?
I don't know if the government is more of a monolith though.
Is
Like,
it separated by departments, etc.?
I mean, yeah, exactly. Like everything has its own department. Everything has its
Well,
own.
I just mean that that's like what plays into the rhetoric of like blaming
okay.
the government. That's what I mean.
Yeah, because there's plenty of departments that are operating at a huge loss, like the post office. They're not doing a really good job, whereas other government bodies like FBI, CIA, they get proper funding, and other organizations get proper funding and actually have uh, probably an equivalent or a proportionate amount of success, whereas other bodies don't. So that's one of the benefits of being in the government. You can spend money and not be held accountable for sucking at your job.
And we can say, well, privately,
I
the
mean,
vaccines
that happens
have
in
been
private
dealt
sector
with.
too, though. I mean, it's like look at like Bobby Kotick and like World War.
Okay.